Oh, hey, let's start wrapping up.
Oh, it was just like a bad Russian accent.
If we could return to that, maybe.
Oh god. I met his parents when I picked him up to drive to Kentucky one time, and his dad is like exactly who you think he would be, like super serious Russian guy.
Yeah.
And then his mom walked up to him and was like, "Did you go to this water park on the way to like Kentucky? You all should go." It was like the Noah's Ark Bible themed like crazy Kentucky thing. I was like, "Oh yeah, we're definitely stopping with this."
That's good. Isabel's parents are also Russian, and at their wedding, like listening to Leonid Slavitsky give his speech in like this really thick Russian accent. No one understood him, but he was apparently cracking a bunch of jokes. Isabel and her sisters were losing. Everyone else was just like, "What is happening?"
That is exactly what it should be.
Yeah,
My brother's a chess coach for our Niles West, and he says that one of their teams got 15th nationally, which sounds pretty good.
Like their heroes.
His freshman unrated team got 5th place in the national tournament. Our board number 1 got 15th place individually.
They're too good for water.
Water runs broken.
Sounds good.
Is he just kind of bragging on the family?
Yeah. Like my family doesn't let me brag anymore. There's like, I'll be like, I come home from a tournament, I'm like, I did pretty good there, I had quarters. And they're like, what? Like, you didn't win? Like, man, it's like that.
Yeah, you could have been, if you were unrated and were then 5th, that would.
Yeah. Oh, look who decided to show up.
Sorry, I got all lost.
Yeah.
Was that a bet?
Yeah,
I was like, he's gonna walk in and be like, oh, I gotta move on.
Why lie?
To fill you in, Truth, the 1AC is being broken on paper.
Okay.
We have copied, we printed 6 copies, one of them got messed up, so there are 4 to share, and there's 5 judges.
While I'm being the worst, can I get paper from someone also?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a
There's a bunch.
Take a second. It's cool. But yeah, my computer just like blew up last year before the NDT, and so I was like, this looks cool. And it's worked out, so.
No, I think
Keep the cards on the full screen.
I usually just have like email Spotify on it, but.
Are you gonna?
so you can see what they're saying. Because
Jacob, I have a question. Is the live stream going to be saved anywhere after the debate?
Yeah.
Okay, great, then I don't have to record it.
That's fine. Okay. Alright. Are we all good? Okay, sweet.
Let's do it.
Advantage 1 is China. China is highly likely to shift into nuclear posture because of threats of U.S. first. There are several paths available with radically different implications for strategic like Carson. In 23, China's leaders believe that Western countries continue to contain and conclude their only option is to force terms the Chinese consolidate one-man role with the lack of meaning of the dialogue continues to China. A lead to a Cuban Missile Crisis. U.S. state where China wrote that several pathways laying ahead. First, China can choose assured retail China with adhere to its NFU. Second, China can shift to retail plus. This with the application of NFU that would lower the threshold of conventional attacks. Or China can abandon NFU develop war fighting at the 1,000 warheads and attack weapons. A recent that was suggested China is pursuing at least second and third cannot be excluded. There's broad consensus that the CSP is debating nuclear posture shifts, but that she is not yet locked in. The next 5-year plan is coming next year, which means that now we see the representative shift to launch and warning and pre-delegation Roger Go 1. 824. Many analysts claim that Beijing is properly focused on survivability. There are internal drivers pushing expansion to be a part of the Xi or Xi the terms of his 5-year plan for 21-25. Our critical question is NFU within the package to get there from all calls for revisiting NFU with the former senior officials and then 21. The NFU should not apply to the US and the CMC. US ever discussion debates waiting in the context of Ukraine, China, and the UN into the new for the change to the NFU to prevent the US and the partners from intervening in Taiwan. This is just a Russia or something, but that yes, he has done this agreement that she's on board. Those shifts are particularly disastrous because those two crises are structured like a Liban. It's 24. Crisis involved the US and China. There's a problem exhaustive ballistic crisis on the go. Could come from economic gravity, succession crisis, sophisticated stability, the US and Chinese. Would mean close proximity resulting in escalation of pressure to preempt or US by miscarriage of the test over Japan could misfire. Any crisis could involve the US and the US to the Chinese. The triggers of prompt crisis around Taiwan, including independence, decision by Beijing under pressure, or invade the US might intervene. The conflict is sovereignty China. Japan and the Philippines, US and security trade. These already claims to engage resource and military access, national influence, sovereignty China. China might intentionally use force. There is a lack of communication. There are also giving cars through inadvertent escalation. There are some might target the mainland CC. Always targeting space cyber attacks, the blocking movement of assets. They're crossing some geographic. There's a lot of a ship accident. The sea loss of a sub accident involving new support with deployed sensor computer area from info. And person meeting community certain whether the Russians like the escalation. This is serious risk. The ship makers on this way uncertainty. In the face of emergent crisis, Chinese laws are warning and pre-delegation goes nuclear glacier. In 16, a skills rotation can result in China dubs and LDW with the risk of affecting the sequence of the second China. Could launch based on the flawed input that led this to lead that news with the launch of the second given the cyber today is more likely to act because Alexa's time to assess info that work hard second or within the trace second and the strike is to Chinese with pre-allocated authority and capability of officers and they would the launch of the command have destroyed the commanders like a launch of the second leaders and the authorized because their weapons are going to be destroyed or they misunderstood in order to nature of an authorized launch may increase because of understands conditions there will be more individual capable of launching and China believes that the US and the capable leaders will believe that the users were like they will feel pressure to essentially extinction the plan's employment control is key in solid work with training. It's when damage opening is untenable and the nature of probability it's high Chinese to survive is sufficient to devastate the US even if the feasible the US a kind of versus access to the virus sufficient to reduce nuclear winter along with the widespread follow. Loss of vaccines severely harm the world for years and then when the effects would be catastrophic the food that their countries the other goods and law even officials have really killed nukes with the exacerbate instability to plan the preemptive attack China's in turn should be reconverted. Reject mirror imaging and view is uniquely credible with China because they see this meaningful. It's what they care about done. It's what they Chinese participants in dialogue repeatedly say the US and with the most important of their research China regarding strategic and testing sensitive with Chinese official defendants of the impact on the China posture and debates within the establishment all evidence of China's NDV against racist posture and agreement on NDV with open witness of the Chinese taking the US declaring NDV is both necessary and sufficient but we have to be the first mover collecting. It's when NDV would open the door for arms control for 20 years represented for China press the US NDV with this investor whether the US recognizing the only acceptable purpose of doing without NDV the Chinese difference highly like indication the US and mutual NDV is uniquely binding because it's unique disincentive to fact by you. In 16 NDV can be which on this is not making NDV crush on the mutual and if you could generate commitments which come in self-force and already reduce or produce and if it's affection can be expected to promote defection, reduce insecurity as defectors unlike the chief surprise of the station that enable preemption would be noticed. If an issue is space, Chinese ASAT use is highly likely to escalate to full-scale US-China war and collapses access to space. Only the plan can reduce Chinese restraint by overcoming inevitably resistance government hunters. And love China's the ASAT capability to degrade the US use of space the great crisis system with the initial the second person and with the other side those are able to give it the low cost of attack and absence of counter these both may attack. Of course, you can short attacks against us which will lead to escalation. The crisis Chinese might conduct sovereign attacks and expedition that conflict can do. Destroy US under by versus the loss of the round China with gaining critical advantage by knocking out US opposite against us with China's getting the initial upper hand is shipping. It aims to indicate the seas far knowing that the Chinese would see this way. They was like a pre by large attack on Chinese ASAT launchers and space facilities on the mainland about the teachers trigger general war space like nuclear the favors the offense or the impossible to hide both have the others and the crossers both have the capacity to reach hyper or assassinate the commercials they are not hardened even a million intel sets are harder for China was ever more in the new war than the US has war space in China. It has more to lose in the PLA like because of numbers and measure the preclude the assumption that China is declined to support it and the ASAS will advocating a nuclear and if the US desires to restrain the ASAS will have to find a way to get best or largely to use a lack of a far breaking reasons to make interference with access to purpose so only in retail they both have capabilities to great strong incentive to restrain the first use and the US against non station promises and political and economic leaders of the mayors whether it be simply by the PLA should the US except nuclear NFU without the Chinese ASAS in the NFU they can be counter strategic US in the system but nuclear NFU alone gets pocketed but offering a nuclear NFU in exchange for restraint in space conventions and power civilian leaders to say yes despite PLA rejection government subjects. It's 12. It is unclear how fully Chinese to comprehend in ways that the label weighing once on pocket nuclear terms while keeping the options they're striking the first situation to without saying the was and the people should make leaders of reception to the views of restraint the like the sea agreement this workers in China's advantage list of political leaders of rule the military rejection the was many countries but the was the situation that they accept this additional resistance will yield interest in the integrated domain of the approach really confirm the way that the Chinese can see the strategic vulnerability problem. The plan shifts Chinese elites away from the PLA's vision of strategic reality government others in the 11 the English and the share and also the PLA strategic reality including the rest of the solution against your broad range of Chinese civil and military actors that would be time to the Chinese and the US will be when against your bilateral nuclear and if you pledge to provide the Chinese when they can go to the United States. That limits Chinese destruction, denial, and destruction of space assets, whether it's targeted at satellites or supporting infrastructure government centers. It will be choice that we're trying to vision degree not to be the first to try to deny the others use of space their piece of war that was included ban on net text on satellite. Any efforts to disrupt the function by interfering with their seats whether physical or other. China official proofs that yes now is different and agreement by Xi ensures follow through, which results in mutual agreement, limiting close approaches and fly by states done. In 22, for a decade, Chinese officials have recently the Chinese officials apprentice or official dialogue and knowledge can be folded in the broader negotiated joint statement of unrestricted strategic competition. Results would depend on Chinese readiness to implement such a commitment with authorization direct command. But lower officials declare would be defaulted and then the joint agreement on discrete action China participants and companies such as the something way forward. Even if the two may not agree with sources with decision and decision the way that you substitute with benefits of pleasure with the company commitment. Not to use things first out through the first and second against space assets to follow below. A completely including possible illustration limits on the right flight by states holistic set with the engine agreement at the top of the begins which Chinese taking principles and actions even if enable the process with provide insights that can impact on countries in lateral behavior less than necessarily person. That's all secret risk for liberal tailgating and accidental close approach to the NT3 early warning satellites and the shows up destructive ASAT sensor which targets the break against a shot of space access at the station for much. It's 22 the most urgent need to reduce the risk of the that would threaten everyone in the space in 1-7 with being kinetic against the joint commitment to maintain minimum distance between the HSS and the high orbit critical and NT3 revisioning proximity of institution preparation for many or two use to give us the conflict maybe the second drop non-negative being interpreted as preparation for the good of where there's more catastrophic isolation. China or rather to join the NFU and news and insisted that China cannot engage before the US and the demonstrate the goodwill. The US and the China and the US gets to say dialogue they were sharing the competition the dialogue leads to one the expertise they got to really understand this would allow the non-violent cohabitation better than murder suicide. The plan rallies international community against Chinese aggression which also spurs China co-op by allies for commission. Into the two. The U.S. can fairly touch on this decision. The steps can be considered Chinese interests to the single interest without clearly the U.S. cannot compete by the U.S. members of the upper pathways of the stable relation in which China and the U.S. are comprehensive policy and then would demonstrate they would pursue diplomacy rather than dictating for war. This is what somebody on the sunshine usually if they refuse the U.S. allies will know they therefore must be the countering China's actions. With the U.S. and the Chinese attention, however, China rejected the invitation. The U.S. allies have a clear basis of mobilizing international support to counter China. If the U.S. does not offer proposals, China can be deported, and the U.S. will find it harder to public opinion. The U.S. will perceive any interference in space conflict leads to the exchange of the plans to resolve atoms. In 18, the next gen of extensions already in orbit. Chinese said like capture and fuel paranoia among the top military brass. Even middle searchers they help the use attention. Then they keep the most aggressive. They do sure they're dropping off the depth charges in the sub. I believe that's the word. And it was second order launch with the man's last win the decision preventing World War III. And the accident did the misinterpretation. There's the right attribution. The difficulty of the satellites obviously can be false. There's deliberate while they Chinese and Russian satellite with the ASAP potential puts on the right. He was to believe this supreme with the defensive was way company probably not with the extent they were there. Soon after the rest of extensions read as a retired Muslim will share experts agree. It is when not without meaningful legislation like this when to get this where independently China will disrupt geosats in the crisis GPS collapse triggers extinction graph. In 18, America has become the legitimate military and the economy of the ships rely on its intercession GPS to become the single most and this was a global system which the rest of the world's infrastructure base forcing the 16 infrastructure sectors are critical rely on GPS American war and underpinned by safety where the airlines Google cost banks of the credit cards in the early war days of urban they're going to not be the first target any modification of the threats opposed to the global economy the case of everything is occurring. He says for one part of the China is a massive military peers are hard and more powerful the GPS system systems are archaic there is no backup. Thus the plan the United States should adopt the no pursuit secure policy toward the People's Republic of China to be rolled back if the People's Republic of China fails to maintain and faithfully implement its own new first use nuclear policy and consent to mutual agreement with the United States that neither country will be the first to interfere with or deny access to or use of space by the other country or by the allies and partners of the United States. Loss of space existential Suzuki. In 15, states in the future, home kind of space today is for critical infrastructure for the world space and the ideas ability to use must be protected by national and maybe hazardous space of this was for the environmental education of food, health, water, and human rights, disaster relief, nuclear security, and implementing the prevent and mitigate a variety of versus radio interference with the space, whether the choice has space is not the best space, managing an army and enable the assets enable the air ground and see the making the helicopters, the internet, the healthcare, and energy, disaster for critical research, scientific stations, and power grids, and disaster monitoring, emissions, risk mitigation, and around the globe. You're sending.
Can you send and then we're gonna
Yeah, I already did.
Alright, I'm gonna. Let's go this way.
okay, 10. Right, give me 7. Yes. Okay, yes. Uh, 927. Okay. You good?
Yeah.
Okay. The plan. What happens if China says no?
So the plan does a couple of things. The
No.
first,
What happens if China says no?
No, this is important. The plan adopts a no first use policy that immediately takes effect to China. If at any point China rolls back or abrogates its own no first use policy, the plan is rolled back. After a window of time, if China does not comply with mutual restraint in space as stipulated by the plan, then the plan gets rolled back. But there's an initial compliance period.
Okay. The time before it gets rolled back is when?
So we think that part of a no
Actually,
first
before that,
use.
what card says the time stipulation thing?
Well, the Gumbert and Saunders evidence
Which one?
indicates. I think every one of them. Like
The time, just the time stipulation thing, not the agreement. Which card describes the process of the plan?
the Gumbert and Saunders evidence, I think, describes
Which
the
one?
process
There's like
of
4.
the plan. It is obvious that a no first use
Okay, wait,
declaration would
which one?
include a process
Okay,
of stipulating
I
the
need this for like
policy.
counterplan competition and things. Which card in the 1EC describes the time stipulation? so I can
The
read and figure this out.
second Gompert and Saunders card talks a bit about the collaboration between the US and China. I think the one below
That's
that
not the timing
also
stipulation
does.
thing, so let's try again. Timing stipulation before it gets rolled back.
The
Which
plan
one?
does not mandate a particular window of
You-
time.
no.
I'm not going to give you a date, but
Well, no, I
think
understand that,
the
but like,
normal
at what point do
process of
U.S.
a
policymakers
policy-
like conclude we're rolling back the plan because China has not abided by the wishes of the Wings?
We think by the time the policy has been communicated to China and normal means dialogue
Well,
and consultation has taken place, if China does
So
not demonstrate
normal means
a
of the one I
willingness
see
to
is
comply,
normal
the
means of the
plan
one I
gets
see
rolled
is to
back.
declare an NFU, but after we declare, we dialogue and tell them that we've declared one and they should follow on.
Well, I think it's weird that you think those things are separate. Obviously, the declaration
you
of
said
a no
declarations
first use
is immediate.
policy, yes, but we think that obviously includes a period of consultation with China. That's how any
Well, no.
nuclear policy
To
would
avoid
ever
this
be
like
made.
to avoid this like T should thing, you were like, we will immediately adopt an NFU towards the PRC, and then you were like, but dialogue takes time. So is dialogue a part of the plan?
Is dialogue a part
Yes.
of the plan? Yeah, like we think any
Okay.
nuclear policy is going to
Is it a
include
mandate?
talking
Is it
to
the
people.
mandate of the plan,
Do we
or is it a follow
mandate
in?
dialogue? We think that is included in adoption of a no first use policy.
Okay. The impact, I just want to make sure, is just like the first one is just like they attack an ASAT, we respond with a nuke. Correct.
That's one of them, yes.
Okay. The second one is they attack an ASAT and the economy declines.
The second one is that they attack a satellite or conduct a dangerous nuclear or a dangerous test, like an ASAT test, which causes GPS collapse from things like cascading debris.
Okay. If China says no to the plan, do you solve the first advantage?
Yes.
How?
Well,
There's
I guess
no longer an
I guess it
NFU.
depends on what you mean by like say no. If they roll back their own NFU, then like no. But if they don't comply with well, actually, wait, no.
Okay.
we do not.
The answer's
we
no.
do not.
Clearly.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
we do not.
Are we good?
Yes, sending it out right now. Actually, do you want one? So what'd you stop? 9 something?
9:27.
I had to draw it
Yeah. Okay. 9:18.
Yes.
Show me the line.
Show me the line.
Yeah, I think that was big. That was one of the big numbers.
Yeah, that's probably right. Let's make sure.
Okay, it should be set. While everybody's waiting to get it, it's 8 negative off case positions, the second advantage, the first advantage. Uh, 918.
What's the answer to ground every US satellite?
Do you want to add that?
Yeah, can you just type it up? Yeah.
Sure, I'll just say it.
Yeah, audible. Yeah. 9:10.
Okay, Georgetown are both all good?
Yeah.
And all,
Yep.
good. Okay.
First off, politics Ukraine will pass in CUA Newman 327 Avery Quick Horse was finding edge doing something just Ukraine defense is slow. Johnson finally indicated plans to support 8 manual law support more than enough policies pass and if you across the country ever combined cost BC collision one sole purpose is too successful dependent on political capital operating the bomb multi state effort includes humanitarian aid this also food security instability labors and 24 hours cars move funding contains needed food aid numerous countries facing food shortages imperative increased funding the absence of food source will be risk common nuclear war extinction curve 23 greatest risk of extinction common to operation with food shortage leading to disputes over food crisis good risk of nuclear response next off is topicality and no pursuit policy and capital adversaries Evans 21 no pursuit policy makes an explicit declaration that will not use nuclear weapons to prevent against any adversary vote negative for limits ground geographic subsets below the American law topic and circumvents core enabling controversy next off is the proliferation of the United States bar Donald J. Trump from running for public office Alex Jones score strong but requires maintaining current doctrine otherwise these states will live yellow 22 8 Jones Trump to risk credible nuclear deterrence is most important component of assurance so Japan still going to show the face against nuclear adversaries countries nuclear deterrence are critical must be credible Japan still go have capability to know how to build nukes quickly based on public statements data Alex doubt extended critical modes dangerous degree each analyze affirm and pure sports and deterrence technology reach vulnerability on faith extended deterrence causes East Asia proliferate and fifth Alice wonder what the Washington will do is trying to send Japan still go worry about the forces that reach vulnerability and tasks of incredible nuclear developer Alice and
leads to a need for independent nuclear alternative. Washington needs to maintain the credibility of its guarantees. Future role of nuclear prosperity goes beyond deterring China's society. Both escalate and cascades in the Middle East nuclear war of Symbala. Then Lothar 23 unstable seas over nuclear weapons joining national hostility. Asia political judges have less against anti for Indian to deliver nuclear war under stress and crisis and biggest intel leads to supply preemption. Hostile powers employ nuclear force against allies. This is a strategy for China's use combination nuclear cyber creating deaths conventional to nuclear. If the two cases slip, this case of slipulation not if others follow the Middle East battle with high probability nuclear use. Abandoning Soko causes conventional strike, arms racing miscalculation, and nuclear war. Bowers and him 21 should abandon McCurd Soko left and the capability of independent from the U.S. or Soko's kind of force increase risk of nuclear use. Severely stressed leaders and increase a misunderstanding mistaken strategy and fight Soko to adopt doctrine that increase nuclear use by delegate authority from nuclear dom steel. See it created use to lose it mindset next office elections. Biden wins now. Rosenberg 4-3 Biden. Then will defeat Trump. MAGA. The conspiracy radio has been also overestimating the strength. I have that view about 2024. WHA found Biden trailing Trump as a rocky food for worrying about pulling his risky business. Mutual vulnerability caused by the election. That means China doesn't trust. And then Trump will follow through. Cost of 22. How will the American people react? Very poorly. The typical American voter not want to represent concede the Americans vulnerable to China. They attack outside themselves even if U.S. president believes the benefits outweigh. Members of Congress will gladly disagree in support funds for programs of risk. China will see make signals and wonder whether mutual vulnerability is one term away from being discarded. Recent foreign policy criticism caused vote switch to battleground states. RDS 320. 9 national security role America's play will feature prominently coming election crucial swing states. 40% of state defense will be extremely important in determining how they will vote. Swing state voters prefer increased spending in armed forces. Response in every swing state poll claiming China is looking with Russia second. Majorities believe the U.S. should be a global force. Trump 2.0 devastates climate efforts, extinction, Milan at all 20. 227 Trump minimized FS climate change attack EVs and pledging repeal Biden's signature law. And the treaty of ambition following the hottest year in record. The shift is big to backpedaling backlash when the stake is a livable planet. And the Trump and the IRA pull out appears to unravel access and shut down climate issues leads to global system failure. Nuclear war barriers in 23. Trump's return would prove more interest in second time around Russia, China, no America is a leader who can think meaningfully failure would prove irredeemable successful system failure take place inside this anti nuclear bulk from the U.S. national security exacted by system failures that can be mutually enforcing they can involve WMD America first become both tangibly dire first America first good lead to worldwide nuclear war next off is bioweapons pick the United States should adopt a policy of only using nuclear weapons first against China in response to extension threatening bioweapons tax and sell their allies or partners and if you open zero.
We don't need it.
Okay, scratch it. Next off, the conditions kind of like the United States Congress should approve an overseas nuclear policy towards the People's Republic of China to be rolled back if the People's Republic of China fails to maintain and faithfully implement its own nuclear overseas policy to consider a mutual agreement with the United States. The other country will be the first to interfere with or deny access to use of space by the other country or by the allies and partners of the United States on the condition that Department of Defense ensures interoperability and transparency and allied defense announce the threat of litigation to trickle lines. The Department of Defense does not ensure interoperability or transparency. The United States Congress ought to initiate laws in the federal judiciary challenge incessant violation of the rule made that competes via actor spills over and solves through fiscal legislation reviles power of the person who assaults multiple acts interest in turns case Brown. Then 18 authorization funding many issues impacting native refugee crisis terror nationals were the EU placing the alliance in question. And that condition on the good cooperation leverage capability to authorization maximize the supports of NATO Congress will and fiscal authority shape policy although commanders have tools by good cooperation Congress improve the efficacy of those tools how Congress adjust obstacles how far-reaching impacts have aggression collapse American liberal order. Next off, the United States have the advantage counterplan. The United States should establish an encrypted leader-to-leader deconfliction communication line with the People's Republic of China, not use nuclear weapons force against the People's Republic of China, not use conventional weaponry against the People's Republic of China, adopt laser-based missile defense, induce the People's Republic of China to adopt nuclear transparency measures. The People's Republic of China ought to not use conventional weaponry against the United States. The United States should ground all U.S. satellites, hotlines, all miscount and communication. Sean 21, not all countries with nukes are linked to the heads of state. There are no multiple ladder comm lines can be trusted. Hotlines have been useful in hostile environments. Hotlines between the U.S. and Russia approved effective deconfliction and existing hotlines without the solution to the rest of the domains. Leader-to-leader capability to dedicate de-escalation. This could serve as a catalyst for expanding trust and dialogue, encrypting survival common systems to build for nuclear decision makers on needed hotlines or due for an urgent upgrade. Next off is T. Certain the plan can't be conditional. Should in the summers of 94 should be we shall or must at the present time resolve columns of 14 resolve fixed and purpose prefer it. QPQ steals all AF ground by or neg ground by allowing AF conditionality due to the plan of deterrence sets and fail and steals every neg position that kills limits ground explosion of conditions that obviate generics can possibly neg reject the team. It's extra T. It does dialogue as well, which can obviate every negative advantage neg regardless. The second advantage space debris is no threat. Current monitoring systems to rule solid motion. And then 18 runway station catastrophe like I don't see it ever becoming an major problem in space debris is monitored from Earth. Rules require satellites to be deorbited so they don't add more space junk. Our current plan is the major problem. I don't think we ever been close to even trying to remove that stuff. There's lots of research about that, but an unnecessary expense. No miscalculation resolution cover 19 space force not broken out limited access to orbit reduces things which could escalate vigility bonus status grades at the escalator pressure due to the deterrent effects of retail powers demonstrated towards the escalator strategies OSC supported by 6 decades of peace and stabilizing force relates to debris consequences and indiscriminate they threaten attackers own assets. COVID thumbs econ but it's resilient Branson in 20 econ adapted worse of the recession is over for our peace put up in big parish and focus not enough for resilience. Great majority of forecasters anticipate we would recover growth twice the record recapture 3/4 of its collapse. Expert underestimated resilient GDP showed ability to bounce back from drastic shocks and if World War II resilience came to rescue overpowering the recession. Say no. Kulaki in 20 NFUs have been sticking point in talks between China and the US for a decade. China's been asking US for commitment. It is made clear US commitment to NFU is essential for progress in talks. US complete China's unwilling to engage with US refusal to meet this one basic question is a significant disincentive. No confidence based hamburger in 17 the assumptions face war will be waged in the heavens and earth is grounded on hypotheticals. The analogy in Pearl Harbor surprise requires significant offensive assets orbit without a response to scale cells of defeating given the high cost launch capacities international base attack comes from ground locations can be deterred. The initial attack will come from cyber. Several other assumptions become essential that attacking that render orbit to debris saturated further operations become possible. There must be no difficulty separating targeted outlets and non-belligerent spread of space technology globally complicates actions and the inability to replace losses means one of the combatants are able to dominate the issues of global reach make it find conflicts in small areas. The China advantage China nuclear buildup reflects its great power mission stop fears of first chronic in 21 China's nuclear buildup as part of the broad strategy challenge the US led system styles only ensure trying to get 1165 first strike that doesn't make sense. US is asking to start so Beijing worried about it first strike, go put nukes on mobile missiles and subs which are harder to destroy. Chinese fixed allies are relatively easy targets by the crews. China's ability to threaten first strike. China's nuclear ability to tend to project. China's super power to counter this useful detail and strengthen its arsenal. Non-nuclear weapons strike. China's here is non-nuclear Bugos and Claire 23. Beijing's fuse risk from US breakthroughs, but China's main concerns include missile defense, hypersonic space surveillance, conventional strike, and cyber operations. China will share their NFU tells us 22 observers Chinese forces scheduled Beijing will share to LW. China sees to be solid in control over capabilities given risk of escalation and civilian distrust. Leaders are unlikely to delegate launch authority CMC or even authority CSP. And SG because of a risk Beijing will be sure this even appears to prepare for China's oriented towards returns of warfighting. They would not execute such operations in any case even extremists. No accidental escalation from LW. Wound 22 tech and doctrine restraints risk accidental launch teams low. China protects control ensures weapons never used without order. China's NC3 centralized communication between direct commanders who would require to establish a way China is unable to adopt an LW to military is aware of the risk and history of false alarms in the US. War, invasion, and inevitable claims are alarmists and don't assume aggregate factors. Invert, aft, try, diaphragm, start invasion at 0 fonts window 223. Alarmists overestimate the risk of war, often say China's army force, 20% of the biggest quality forecastable to balance growing from a low baseline. China cannot be confronted with to win a war, which keeps down risk. Taiwan is part of the US SOI attack, and Taiwan attack of the US will replicate within those China's below interest and provoking common newfound. Assertiveness is less about divided logical change and more capable to conclude assumptions of urgency or faulty statement from forecasting. Subconscious or alarmists or military narratives look at the risk in isolation without consideration of its general low baseline probability, heavily exaggerated through game internal change forecast that military and political other things matter. Taiwan's role in semiconductor and destroying cost trillions. Academic war for result estimates conclude consequences with hit. China makes its turns together with reasonable range relationship of and common discussion of Taiwan perceived for low baseline probability, not from panic driven when rather than if no China war thwarted. 22 for middle exchange help preserve peace for 70 years in are still strong enough for US Chinese conflicts to require the sound for every exchange diplomacy after break down a problem in a global network community country institutions have an accidental stake in preventing conflict. Every government would be grievously damaged. All would prevent conflict through diplomatic pressure, mediation, resistance. The integrated global economy makes any more unwinnable, create assured economic destruction and other exchanges public opinion opportunity to fight against terrorism. The public is worried for overseas conflict. There was a final fail state determines the weapon use translated to certain catastrophic losses. China and the US are nuclear powers with secondary capabilities balance of terror holds. No US China nuclear escalation. Either side strikes first. Even in a crisis, Wu 22, no one will go nuclear. The US planners are mindful of the danger of attacking any arsenal. Will take short of caution. Chinese missiles survival. The US is unlikely to destroy significant potential in Chinese retail capability. Chinese enthusiasts now require primary retail. The risk of use or lose it is zero. Unauthorized launch is low. Chinese enthusiasts highly centralized theatrical domain holds sole authority. Chinese military is aware of the risk of LW and false alarms given the catastrophic consequences of a nuclear war. Even uncertain limited retail could generate strong deterrent effects. And the risk of damage limitations is extremely no. Use or lose it strikes. Current bosses 21. Use or lose it rests on weak logical foundation and it does not provide rational incentive for use. Rarely if ever to leave the space of choice using suffering, disarming attack and launching. They can surrender diplomacy, conventional non-nuclear attacks, flush subs, bombers, artillery, activated missiles, bring ship or threats. Intentionally launching is not the only obvious response. American strategists. I don't know if I want to say that. Yes. What?
I don't know. You know more.
Okay,
about
first
it.
use deterrence China. White in 22. China has a better chance of taking Taiwan without threatening the war than America. America would make the first move towards nuclear threshold. The president will balk at that choice. Then balk is starting war that might force him to confront China's stake is higher. Taiwan is more important. His defended backyard gives China a big advantage. And you get the bluff and counter bluff. America can rely on nuclear threats to break conventional stalemate. That card should be tagged. US won't use first. This one is the deterrence card. Goldstein 22. Chinese strategy been influenced by increased recognition, minimal deterrence of carriers released by US improved surveillance, sensing drones and computer crossing by the road, mobile missiles and subs visible. These changes with China thinking they now believe problems road. Even if Chinese now believe the US is credible first right, they still worry you see things differently and be unsure from nuclear black holes. This is especially relevant for Taiwan. It also deters them glazing fighting 16 without counter force possibility of US China. Nuclear war should contribute in terms of Chinese provocations. US with unlimited nuclear strikes, so it should be far more credible than of unlimited nuclear attack. Chinese leaders be concerned in conventional war, complicated fog of war, and unforeseen twist would escalate.
Okay, and you said.
Elections and the ground satellites playing with.
Okay, sweet. Alright, we all good?
Yeah.
Okay. Status.
Finish up.
Can you kick planks?
Against new advantages and new plan, yes.
Okay. Advantage counter plans like the multi-plank one. The not use nuclear weapons first, not use conventional weapons, or these just like what policy does this adopt, or is this just like
It
we're
doesn't.
not gonna
Well,
do
it doesn't adopt a policy,
Okay.
which will be the basis of our
Got it.
competition argument. Just
Yep.
fiats the US doesn't do those things.
Sure. The inducement plank. What are inducements like? How do we induce China?
Financial, diplomatically,
What is that?
something very attractive to China.
And what is that? Something very attractive to China.
Lots of money.
Lots of money. Okay, we're just gonna throw money at them.
It's one way that we could incentivize China.
Okay. The where is it? The Ukraine politics decide. So the internal link evidence that's like humanitarian aid, good and necessary for food assistance, says that people have already faced severe food shortages. Why is like it literally says numerous countries face severe.
Like face them now.
Wars-
It lists a whole bunch of countries that are shortages because of Ukraine.
Okay.
That's
and
the uniqueness
where ha-
argument
where
for
have
our
you-
impact.
Where do you think you've read Ev that like this specific food is necessary?
Quote, it's urgent Congress approve the supplemental funding request from Biden supporting Ukraine and global humanitarian.
Yeah, because it's written by someone who's like talking about world hunger and then how much food, how much money are we giving for food in the bill?
I don't know what the number is exactly. I think this card says, it says about 10 billion.
10, and you think $10 billion is gonna
It solves Sudan, Gaza, like Mali, Congo, Yemen.
that
Afghanistan.
escalates how?
That's 10 billion Big Macs.
That escalates how?
Or like food insecurity escalates how?
Yeah, for like the, you know.
Yeah, so it results in like
Ghana.
regime instability inside of countries who have civil unrest because of hunger.
Okay. The Soko conventional strikes argument. Why are North Korea and China afraid of South Korean conventional capabilities?
Well, so it's North Korea. They think it gives them like a
yeah.
conventional first strike capability against their limited nuclear arsenal.
Got it. The Biden impact, the last card you read, I didn't have time to pull it up. Why? What was the impact to that? Sorry.
So
I did not
there's
pull
the
it up.
climate one, and then there's the one that's
Yeah.
like Trump will start a bunch of wars.
Okay. Which wars?
So yeah, let's see here. So it's like global wars. It says Russia, China, North Korea,
Iran.
yeah, Iran as well.
Okay.
Could result in like
Those
in the Ukraine scenario.
escalate how?
Well, so our argument is that Trump is an irrational actor, and so if a crisis were to erupt in any one of those situations, he's more likely to take an aggressive posture. Our evidence
Okay.
talks about like nuclear bolt from the blue strikes.
Sure. The counter, like the Congress counter plan. So how long does the Department of Defense have to ensure like interoperability, transparency?
Well, the threat of litigation means it would be quite fast.
Okay. And then that's determined, but if they don't. Okay.
10. For people, they define
Resolved.
result. Can you do it in terms of otherwise?
Yep.
And what was that word?
Can you save someone?
Must. Resolved.
Oh, actually. $8.52. Sending. It's done. Something's off there. What's this?
Sorry, I don't know where is it.
No, it's okay. Yeah, that's better.
Okay, nice. How are we doing on that? Yeah. It's pretty slow right now.
Is everyone good for the order? Okay. China advantage. Space advantage. T and FU. T should resolved. Advantage counterplan. Conditions counterplan. Assurance. Elections. Ukraine. Okay. Is anyone not good? Chinese ultra moderation of relegation cause extinction. Their fears are driven by a first strike. The Philippines, the build-up is not, but posture shifts to long-term warning and pre-delegation are because they're about survivability concerns proven by primary source analysis of Chinese white papers and our evidence of 2024. They will use those nuclear weapons if they shit. There's no conventional cause. Our evidence indicates that they're only afraid of nuclear weapons because of the only thing that can destroy is hardened silos. China will shift. Our evidence far postdates theirs. It says the next 5-year plan is coming next year, so now is especially important. Yes, accidents. They have no experience with early warning. Pre-delegation is particularly risky because it gives low-level random Joes the ability to launch nuclear weapons. The von Sydow evidence is non-responsive because even if China does not invade Taiwan, they will certainly conduct riskier actions in the street, which causes conflict. They already had boats coming within 41 meters of each other. Yes, China war. Our evidence prices in their warrants miscalculation is unique because the CCP will think that an incoming regime-ending strike is on the way, which is even if they are economically interdependent, they think that everything is fucked already. All the rest of this page is like no Taiwan invasion evidence, which literally does not matter because we have other scenarios like SCS conflict, ECS conflict, or even if not a full-scale invasion, crises over the strait inevitably escalate. Now, the space advantage, the collapse of access to space causes distinction of a host of impacts. Space debris is a threat. The most evidence is talking about current levels of debris. It does not assume future Chinese ASAT testing, which is likely to escalate, or a host of dangerous ASAT attacks in the early stages of a crisis with the United States. Yes, miscalculation. The power evidence is not some current dynamics. When I see Gompert evidence says that because ASAT attacks are relatively cheap and do not cause direct casualties, they are especially attractive for China in the early stages of a conflict. They also know that the U.S. is asymmetrically dependent on space, which means they will be likely to want to take all of our satellites offline. COVID thumbs economy and resilient is not responsive to full-scale society collapse, so even if it doesn't cause large-scale economic collapse, there are still plenty of ways in which it causes extinction. The say no argument wrong. Kulaki is our author. China says yes because we give them a prior NFU. This is not a conditions kind of plan. It is giving them an NFU and then just telling them we might roll it back later, attempting to and being told no still solves all of our impacts. It's the way to Perk mentioned. Shall we need to worst case scenario of the U.S. would have the act to get faith the world support the U.S. and no change by the United Space Control. It both turns assurance and also means that we solve every 1AC space scenario like tailgating because it lets us respond to Chinese aggression without looking like the aggressor. The no space war argument is wrong. The Hamburg evidence is super old and does not assume current Chinese doctrine or tensions over a host of crises that 1AC 11 cites. Now, topicality. 1, we meet planning to back up the NEG is right about NFU. The plan is a valid agreement subject to global NFU. 2, counter-interpret NFU must be unequivocal, but we can specific government in 2016 adoption of NFU against other countries that equivalent to create the sole person news to the country to turn news weapons carry the application of that news may only be used in retaliation if their attack. The distinction would be the sole person obligation but attention because the NFU is applicable. We use that expression. 3, prefer a AFF ground. No substance turns any into a shooting gallery in the face of a NEG-wise topic. Core generics and picks. It puts debate on rails, leads to coaches piling debaters like this is LD. B, AFF ground outweighs. They get assurance, turn, C, the disarm case, sole purpose, penalty. Add 9, ask people in 16 the NPR reads 60 and they watch watchable law. They use for any use of the global states. C, predictability, our integration aligns best with topic experts as intended to define and include. A, proves high native. 22A, and you have to order 1 million items comes out specified these for any specific items. So what the item is, and 4, reasonability. If they cannot beat China interview on substance thing, they deserve to lose this debate. Now, the rollback or the next topicality argument we have said the United States must adopt a no first use policy and include these stipulations. We also meet resolve because we are fixed in that purpose. This is not an actual violation. They are just trying to conflate something. We also meet rollback arguments. If they win a topicality argument, then it gets back channel Kristen into that interview. Does not appear conditional chance of official probably insist conventional attack will be considered nuclear in the policy, therefore not a limiting factor in Chinese response. But if you combine the future while being reversible, straight in 16, I will consider adopting the which will reversible could restrain future presidents. Both are interim plan predictable elements of the U.S. And if you want to have the agreement or about unilateral logical first use would be China each one pledge to use initially use against territory versus the other while would daily parties for to use against third countries adopting such a policy with the U.S. Its wording would should incorporate reservations or taken of condition which would they the declaration board regard as necessary. Adopt means put into effect finding 20 enacted in a legal act opposed to delegation operated by conscious adopted to formally and put into effect Webster Black law. Adopt means to put into active operation. Policy aligns means within table minute 5 policy defined as a course selected to guide determine future or present decisions and represent a particular view as about what required to resolve per decision in predictability. China proves our argument because there's constant discussion about rollback, but no one thinks this isn't a no first use policy and policies that were permanent. In 23 policies, the politics policy not permanent, but it keeps changing the results services and events changes around the world. Dialogue is obviously not extra T. Every nuclear policy ever includes talking to allies and adversaries to clarify what it means. We also get stipulations, which is proven by the way that the NPR is written. Worst case scenario, reasonability, all of that was done on the other page. Now the advantage counter plan. 1, perm, do both. 2, perm, do the AFF and any combination of the plans. 3, it links to the net benefit. It obviously would freak out voters, make our allies super mad, and cause political firestorms. And 4, hotlines fail. Shaw and Walker into an emergent text such as UGS targeting hypersonics and AR conclusions to do to re-emphasize the role of nuclear the retaliation. New hotline will have to be easily impacted reception for software hardware availability of environmental degradation and EMPs. There's no private actor fiat, which is the second and third plank. They do not get to fiat. The United States never make a certain decision. They can only adopt a policy at which point radiation to counterplay because it would adopt a no first use policy key in fairness education. There's absolutely no deficits and it's devoid of any real world education. Laser BMD fails. Hecton 19 shooting guidance is hard to the versus materials. Laser shoot further away. Beams expand with installation too hard to come by in space. It also freaks out China because they would be super scared of it. Inducement plank fails. They only want a no first use policy. Paying them a shit ton of money will not do anything. They don't get international fiat. It's unpredictable, regressive. It makes it impossible to be affirmative because they can fiat things like China should never go to war again, which is absurd. Ground all satellites, blows up the world. That was literally everyone is the impact that was like, GBS is the most important system ever known to man. Now the conditions counter plan. 1, perm, do both. 2, perm, do the counter plan for Information Institute noted United States Federal Corporation Agency Department Commission Board or other entity and other issues perm, do the plan and have the DoD condition on something else that's best. It requires a net benefit be germane to the AFF, which is critical to weed out process garbage, keep fairness in education. The counter plan freaks out China. They will not trust it because they will see it as some kind of DoD using it for political gain instead of being genuine, but conditions fail. And invite poison pills and circumvention mountains to be one stumble. Condition option bench parts, plan to adopt with the questionable limits or arbitration plans are in place. Alternative so much greater condition for example, overall use power, just out of the for your conditions will be arbitrary considerations with leading considerable certain amount of allies and impression U.S. adopting some policy based on two issues, poison pill or unserious gestures, avoiding discussions. It means all that it's circumvented now. The assurance is sad. 1, permutation, 2 votes, 2 case outweighs great power arsenals are larger and more likely to be used, prolonged time frames that certain only cause small wars, and 3 case turns it is sad induces Chinese restraint and conventional deterrence troops and second strike solve government insiders and 12 Japan South Korea do not inside U.S. interests or conflict and share elements based on part of the same integrated economy. Allies appreciate mitigating U.S. strategic vulnerabilities help ensure steadfastness. The U.S. can ensure this wage allies concerned by reaffirming security possibilities president but we can ensure capabilities to just data version of allies ET would be unaffected by but if we rallied to back to the U.S. strategic cover space as well as nuclear and the plan lets us test Chinese and Chinese intentions, which is net assuring it's the one you see Perkovich evidence first strikes are credible agreement. It's one of the odds of us to her biochemical or some next necessary just that could be similar nuclear war countries that's used but also actual nuclear attack and thumpers Afghanistan, Ukraine, Trump 2024 North Korea and Chinese nuclear modernization overlying stress polls again 21 hours about Russia's drive analysis the owning self reliance beliefs to necessary for necessarily reported value and allies care more about North Korea, which the plan does not affect independently. No prolif Union 21 Japan are committed on stance this is prolif they have to charge for military level compensation to deterrence fear British Japan's economy into the economic nation Russian alliance to objects are effective to discuss non-nuclear principles like several America prevent armament that have usually rooted civil inside groups form countervailing coalitions opposed. No cascades, tax barriers, sanctions, plenum cutoffs. No impact. They don't have a stare for escalation. It would be asinine for anyone to preempt. But the Ahsoka conventional stuff's inevitable. Cho and 24 Ahsokas become offensive park on build does kill chain. Ahsoka represent one of the case, but all these things as well. A lot of events can be the strategies concerned about baby old balding to increase confidence in deterrent children. Needs deterrence to make the North Korean leaders think twice and the United States checks. We would not let them fully let South Korea go rogue. We can sanction them, threaten troop withdrawal or out of North Korea, but no impact to it because deterrence solves and the U.S. would be able to solve it. Now the Go back to the conditions page. The lawsuit fails in the courts because of deference to the executive. There's also no spillover. Congress is polarized, means they won't enforce power of the purse, but no impact, zero scenario or explanation for escalation. Now the election to sad does not assume the AFF China concession solves the link because all of their explanation is going to be about how people don't want the president to be soft on China, which the plan is not. That there's no, it doesn't take out credibility. Durable fiat means the plan is still believable, but it's way too soon. Current polls are useless. October surprises, black swans all outweigh, but if they're accurate, Trump wins down. Negative entry for the left or electors support about gain for Trump voters, but lose leftist into higher rate. Michigan, the state president must carry Trump at 40%, Biden at 34. The latest poll shows 152 and Biden 48. We're talking about because Dems don't back their own parties, but foreign policy is not key. The voters care way more about domestic things, like the economy, or there's a ton of thumpers. Gaza, Afghanistan, China, Ukraine were all unpopular, which is taking Biden's hope of re-election, but Trump's for warming, it's inevitable that we transition, and Biden won't solve, but there's no impact on southern Pacific in 20, distributing 5 degrees of warming, business usual, lots of the focus position rather than most likely pathways focus on no nuclear war. The plan solves because it adopts an NFU, and it wouldn't escalate now. Ukraine aid does not assume a plan against concession from China, but it won't pass right in 329, isn't it? Lean on Johnson, the Commission for those because we don't know how the economy conditions, national jobs, but use possible conservative rules work hard to go to the House. Conservative substitutes become more able to House bill, flexible, the Senate package, including 8 figures because the differences are upset the most recent deal of both funding and the main UN body, but the plan gets compartmentalized. Lawmakers are already committed to either passing or not passing Ukraine aid. The plan does not change their calculus. PC is super fake. Wellman in 20. PC is not something that's a target any issue as well. Political PC is only meaningless market meaningless. There's no internal link or impact because Russia will never win the war, or they will inevitably, and it doesn't escalate because parties are deterred.
How much we got? 9, 10. Wait. Okay, 8:31.
Okay. Are you good for cross X?
Yep.
Okay. The counter interpretation on TNFU. NFU must be unequivocal. Why do you meet this card?
Because our no first use policy is unconditional. It's about the
Wait, what?
circumstances in which the NFU applies.
You said it would be. You said
no,
it would be
no,
rolled back.
that's different. We have said adopt a no first use policy that we will never use nuclear weapons first under any circumstances, which is what the Gomper and Saunders evidence is defining. We think that policy, that unconditional policy, can then be rolled back, but it is not a carve out
So
to
it's
the no
not
first
an
use policy
unequivocal
itself.
pledge.
It is. We will
Why?
unequivocally not use nuclear weapons first.
Except for in
you
the
are
instance
conflating,
where we
you are
don't do the
conflating two
pledge.
things. The question of whether or not a no first use policy is unequivocal is whether or not it applies in all circumstances. We are saying no matter what happens, no matter what kind of attack China conducts, we will not use nuclear weapons first. That entire unequivocal policy can then be rolled back, but that is a separate question from whether or not the NFU policy itself is unequivocal.
Okay, I'm gonna use the rest of cross-sexes prep.
Cool.
Yeah.
What do you guys I think I agree with that, yeah. I'm saving this stuff for you.
Wait, can you also set the US virtual current Or can you
Yes,
say
we
can
can. You can see all the cards at the bottom of the case page of the set.
the US one strike first?
Yes.
Wait, who strikes first in a conflict between the US and China?
We think both.
Okay, so you're okay.
That's fine. Well, those were that card. But I can resave. Do you want me to resave that?
Can you
one?
just move it into the
Yes. Alright, 8 what?
831.
Well, you got a problem with it? You want to move it for you to cross-sex sounds, right?
Okay. US.
Yeah.
And,
Yes.
yes.
I know. 607. Okay, it's set.
Yeah, bombs. The alumni perks. No, how you graduated.
The order is the advantage counter plan, the conditions counter plan, T NFU, so T countries, T should / no conditions, advantage 2, advantage 1.
Space is then changed.
Yeah.
Sorry, I need to step up to the counter plans one more time.
Okay. T country, T condition, 2 1.
China space. 2, 1. Or space China. Space China.
Space China. Wait, 831. Did you all say conditionality?
I don't think so.
Oh fuck, I didn't.
Okay. Great. What's about things?
To be honest, a real classic Karthikeyan moment. I think we're both good.
Good. Panel of many. Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Not gonna go for a concede every theoretical argument. It's justified not being Karthikeyan. And the logic and conditionality justified it, but it's the reason we don't get functional limits on the topicality. The conditions counterpoint. I'm going to explicitly concede conditions fail. It causes bad backlash, and whatever other warrants are in these courts, I will apply it in the 2R1. They have read a deficit to their own half. Now, the T and FU, I'm going to explicitly concede their interpretation that it must be unequivocal. They do not unequivocally revoke first strike, so they do not meet this interpretation. No takes these back. You can vote negative on jurisdiction because they do not meet this interpretation. It'll be justified on the QPQ sub. All of the other arguments that could be cross-applied will be answered on the other page, but I'm also going to concede that they get individual countries, which gives them the plethora of afterground, so they do not need the QPQFs. Now T, the QPQ top class must permanently establish an NFU limits and conditions exclude imposing additive extraneous requirements for policies, which is the 1AC interpretation. They violate by excluding escape clause as laminates and no first use cannot be escape clause, no first use. This is about use based on recognition, unusable, no first use policy needs, never striking in a conflict, use case 20, no first use policy use. They never commit any first nation use weapon in a conflict. Policy requires generally not a subset of character plain reading. The policies that apply generally group class rather than the many definition policy as such a application definition. Comport with commonly understand meaning. 3. Restrict means to prohibit or bar Bailey, and 5. Restrict and prohibit establish a different degree of within the first leading. The second control meaning in context. Restrict prevents or bars. Restricting conditions are definitely used to same attachment in 63. Restriction the condition, the word restriction cannot be used in condition. A restriction refers to limitation. The first argument out will be no. This card says that China back-channeled their NFU and says that they might use it in conventional conflict, but that means that they still haven't said that they would never use nuclear weapons. It just means that it's not credible. But they can't say this because Gomper says that it must be unequivocal. The Obama card says would not meet our interpretation, and this belies debate logic where presidents are durably fiated. The follow-on, Ullman is an inter for us and says that a condition would void the NFU. They have highlighted this card in a way to say that conditions are topical, but Ullman says that they must be unconditional and a nuclear weapon should never be able to be used first. But the reason that NFU would be voided is because a condition or exception happened. Now they've conceded both limits and ground and just have shoddy defensive applications from the other page, so you should not let the 1 year recreate it. The one is that QPQ don't attack allies, not to attack Taiwan, to give money and stop housing bubbles in China, to stop building specific missiles. Adding QPQ to the topic makes it boundless, infinite extraneous actions that set theoretical hurdles for an NFU or any other subset of the topic. NFU unless countries solve COVID and to enact democratic reform or shift to renewable energy or increase space monitoring. It's uniquely abusive. Conditions don't have to be tied to a resolutionally relevant thing or have a solvency advocate that ties the condition to the AF, and the AF just needs X country likes X topic. Their model is worse. When applied to the resolution, like QPQ over ICBMs and Russia election interference stops removed. TNWs if Turkey does not upgrade terror security or contribute to NATO. NFU with China if they are nice to our allies, which zeros all functional limits to limits outweigh unlimited topics breed a superficial research practice and preclude case specific strategies. Rigorous truth testing is the precondition. The debate's portable benefit.
limited. Second is ground, allowing external QPQ kneecaps every core generic after miles ahead. Now the specificity is something unrelated that shoehorns into an NFU or other condition. Then NFU based on space debris like this app, and the app will have the specific link turns based on the condition that they read or a condition that they have which causes a monopoly of app preparation to be both any pick, counterplane, or a disadvantage that they read. That advantage makes winning. Say yes, basically guaranteed, which is uniquely abusive because the entirety of the defense of NFU, so the NEG can't go for deterrence or assurance. Additionally, there are incentives for apps to use a QPQ to negate every generic like this one, which they condition all alliances having. The impact is clash outweighs their benefit. NEG contradiction is the foundational of debate's value. It's key to fairness. App bias monologues compound the effects. The speech shorter prep into an unbeatable advantage and incentivizes hyper generic process calculations restrictions. Their education precision stuff. They did not say why their stuff was better, and they've conceded both 1 and C definitions, which means that you should refer to plain meaning or definitions about the topic, and they do not meet any of their interpretations, or shadowy do it would be a rehighlighting, so they are unpredictable. Resolve OED free from doubt or uncertainty. Our definitions are more applicable because of plain meaning and we have definitions about NFU, and they're all qualified professors, which is better than those. Limit, solve, and turn it because it's a better version of debate, because the better vision of debate becomes the most predictable. Voting neg solidifies your and then community nor debatability comes first after predictability is only valuable if it's reciprocated by a reasonable interpretation, and neg research burden, but the above often proves that you have to draw a line somewhere. We do not go for the perfect definition, but one that is reasonable for the best interpretation. The Benedict card is our ground argument. While distinct limits cases above should make you very skeptical, given none of the apps link, Benedict says that the reason an NFU should have a condition is because allies would be more willing, and so would our adversaries, and they avoid controversy. Well, let's just say people push for NFU something to nuclear not continuing, but in one position NFU policy be a real NFU have plenty of position something that removes condition does not run into the issue. 2 is specificity. Their interpretation gets rid of numerous country dissets to tailor link turns while narrowing apps to avoid the deterrence and assurance, which is why Benedict is only offense for if they do not solve this, because all of the ground would be contested. The last argument is reasonability. You should strive and use offense defense. 1 is that you should look for the best model of the topic. Reasonability is arbitrary and incentivizes judgment. Adventure 2 is topic heavily. This substantive fosters critical and legal thinking, which always to race to the bottom. Now the space advantage. China says no. They have said that they would only say yes to an NFU, but nothing else. All of their evidence spun out and says that those two things could be interrelated, but not a reason that China would immediately say yes to just an NFU, especially if there's condition, because it seems like the U.S. is trying to extract concessions. Here's another card for only 20 U.S. and the implemented agreement establishes rules for use for the use of area can make a real step towards the negotiation with China about an NFU. And that's foundation for establishing policy based on takes seriously. Possibly the U.S. could lead to escalation. There is an ambition to policy. And this also require effort rather than starting asking everything all for nothing. You should start by affirming ground rules. China won't take first steps unless. Wait, I don't know why we're reading this. I think you got me the wrong side. Right?
No, read the one that's like offering. Yeah, did you read this one?
Yeah.
Okay, then you're good. You don't need to read
it. No A side attack. 1 is the evidence says that it doesn't cause miscalculation. Internally to all their evidence says that that is from 2011 that says that China's increasing test has not escalated in the past 10 years. Though not, Sassons cause nuclear attacks. If we see any team doing quarter of the view attacks, that's escalatory today. No one's attacking military Sassons not responding away from our country. Use laser against American Sassons. U.S. never elected to respond to and policy for total broader use of Grayson ops. No motive for A side attacks back in 18. Russia water aircraft. But fixture jamming network apart by disabling satellite. That was unclear who will be released to Trump. Such as America would respond to attack with the NSA spring off a satellite. Could be a construed attack. Whether a president would risk war is another matter. It doesn't go nuclear troop in 18. New architecture is resilient prevent operation being impeded and attacks small satellite limit adversaries and operation capable to react to most attacks on U.S. bases are unlike a war nuclear response compared to a stable threshold that would trigger a response. The use it or lose it defense on the other page will equally apply because if our stats went down, we would use any alternative option. The flash crash impact, yes, the economy is resilient because there are other stuff to uphold it. They do not have a GPS key warrant, and if the GPS went down, we would probably just go back to trading internally to different countries, which is why it's resilient. No war Walton 20. I don't think extraordinary economic condition make impact. The war 740 recession down 26 unrelated economy recession because we're approaching 9 out of the last 5 states last war on this. They believe they won in a cheap victory. Mark the card at cheap victory. The space, in fact, knows evidence says that space collapses. It still exists, dumbass. We wouldn't stop sending rockets. Other countries solve, and it is long term, so we recover. No evidence says that it's existential, and the laundry list doesn't have the terminal impact. Now, the China advantage. Going to do the defensive portion of deterrence first. Nuclear mutual ability is not emboldening China. Their strategy is predicated on survivability. They are not idiots. They know that the U.S. might use a nuclear weapon, but the U.S. also is fearful of China because they've read the literature of this advantage, which is the Goldstein evidence, and the Goldstein evidence. No Chinese modernization. They do not solve this advantage. The PLEs is focusing on static land-based silos, which are easy targets, not land mobile missiles or subs, which would improve survivability, which is chronic, which proves that they're offensive. Build-up can't be defensive. Coastal 20 does not mention the timeline does not mention the U.S. non-nuclear and influence another large response in the first decade of China. Gradually, only recently drastic jump U.S. reduced or 80%. The 44 missiles intercepted to a single U.S. action. Reason for this the Chinese build-up. There are all causes. China's main concern is U.S. technological and then conventional breakthroughs in missile defense, hypersonic space, and precision, which is Bugos that says it is their key concern. First strike is one of many. Now, Now, the modernization shows China will not shed its NFU, which zeros crisis instability. Their evidence also says that China deeply cares about it because they want to hold tight control and will not delegate given the risk, and they care more about deterrence and strikeability, which is tell us even if adopted communications are stable, they are patient, and military is risk averse, which is the Wu evidence. Ambiguity is for show. Wu in 22 China line beginning NFU. Now, however, probability of China first use zero China jar quality to become China China uses conventional weapon and political military. Otherwise, for nuclear and desperate situations, there is no risk of conventional conflict. Concession of the Taiwan impact is damning because it says that there's a mismatch between the China and U.S. because they know that they could wreck and do not want to violate U.S. SOI. There is ideology. They are developing weaponry, not trying to go to war. You should flip, invert, try, or die. Flaming military planners start at 100, but political and economic analysis say you should start at a low baseline probability and build upwards. This also makes all of our econs and things like sanctions and then recession stop it. Empirics prove that the past 70 years demonstrate that both sides have committed to restraint, diplomacy, and interdependence checks. There's a global network of institutions that will intervene in conflict, especially because of economic pressure. Lastly, is public pressure. The U.S. wants to avoid war given past grievances, which is the thorn evidence. No adventurism. Nolt and 24. In a stage of peace, prevail the reason nuclear to freedom military. The U.S. balance of force in favor of U.S. China intend to launch aggression by a low percentage of U.S. military geography of the day. And any war breaks out, China or receive trace stop war. Unlikely to blockade China view. Would have defending yourselves worship of only even own cost water. Preemptively, Ukraine missiles destroy Russian worship China. Ambitious this no twofold. No use it or lose it. It is a false dilemma. This applies to every single advantage, which is where you should try your additional alternative measures such as surrendering, diplomacy, conventional, flushing, alerting check. But it is not. No rational, sane actor invites a nuclear war, which is the Kronig evidence. Winning this and the entanglement defensive blow. This terminal defense, everything. 2 AC buzzwords is academic malpractice. Kronig and 20 nuclear theories make about Microsoft by Scandal. Need a nuclear escalation of permanent and clear this would make big escalate pressure. And this power poses an acting Christian symbolic and eventually the third nuclear a reason for escalation, but why would a logic reason leader? And the truth of little logical intense velocity nuclear ideas about option improvement. Do not take audience account of decision making and Karthikeyan's operational deficiency stop entanglement Kronig and 21 operational. No doubts on entanglement use system. States the entanglement determine a platform use platform. There are stealthy people that are actually to tech identify mission. No EW cannot distinguish single or average needs to try stealthy and we must be extreme even if unlikely argument can watch before platform delivery mission states the would receive the warning and still discriminate or receive warning.
You good?
Yeah.
Cool. Topicality. This Islami evidence says a country simply cannot have a first strike option without having a first strike option, and then defines an FU as not including an escape clause. It seems to indicate a no first use policy means there's no conditions under which you could use nuclear weapons first. Why does this mean a no first use policy can't be
There is a
back?
condition in which the AFF allows a first use. It's when China does not abide by space policies.
No, the no first use policy adopted by the AFF says that no matter what type of attack or conflict is occurring, the United States cannot use nuclear weapons first. Which is in
Until they
line
do.
with what your evidence
Well,
is saying.
until they decide to not abide by the space treaty of the AFF.
Like, at the very least, that means you're extra T to every single one of your interps.
Like
Why is that?
maybe like we're like two ships passing by and like our brains don't logically match, but like this is just like you have conditioned an NFU on space.
Okay.
And we've read evidence that
I
says that's
will
not topical and
move
conceded
on
your
to
evidence too.
Policy. This McIntyre evidence. This policy applies generally and has widespread application. The policy of the AFF applies generally, has widespread application.
Not generally to all first use. It applies specifically to first use until space. That's like how we'll use that.
Well, so you've agreed that no first use policy can be country specific, but
Yeah.
which seems to say that it doesn't apply generally to all
It
first
applies
use.
generally
What is
to
the
all of
distinction?
China.
But like why
We've
is that a
conceded
good line to
we've
draw?
conceded your definition that NFUs can be specific
I
countries.
understand that, but why is that line
Because
not
under
just
that
as
interpretation-
arbitrary as the one you have
Because
drawn?
we've conceded your interp that says it can be countries,
don't-
and
that
then
doesn't
define
matter.
policies as being general.
Why is it okay to draw that line that NFU doesn't have to be general to all nuclear weapons usage, but it's not
Because
okay?
we've conceded your interp. We've
Okay,
defined
this is
policy
going
under
in
your
circles.
interpretation.
The restrict evidence says restrict, prevents, or bars. You're gonna give me the same answer. So I'm not
Well,
gonna
actually, that one's more important because we read a card after that said explicitly that conditions are not restrictions.
Sure. It says restriction generally refers to a limitation. So if the affirmative establishes a limitation, it seems like it's a restriction.
Well, no, it says restriction and condition are not synonymous because
This isn't gonna get me anywhere, so I'm gonna move on. The limits part of this, you've asserted that the topic is super unlimited. Our interpretation means that teams still must adopt a no first use policy. You get every disadvantage to China NFU that you would normally get.
yeah, until it
Why
disappears.
is this make it Well, but see, that doesn't make sense because you could always concede
Also-
say yes, so the no first use policy would not
Oh,
disappear.
great, we
You
have to
could go for
concede
your
the AF
TA.
solves one half of the 1AC to get
Man,
offense.
I know that seems terrible. and
Well, it
stupid,
is.
but
The NEG has to concede to 4.5 minutes at least.
Sure. The space advantage, I want to talk about say no evidence. This evidence says that a bilateral no first use is the foundation for future negotiations and cooperation. The plan gives them a bilateral no first use policy, which we say then induces them to do things like cooperation.
Well, no. So Foley's argument and the 1NC argument is that they want an NFU, but when we attach things like a condition on it, it seems like we're trying to extract concessions. And China doesn't know that durable fiat exists, so they think we get rid of it.
Alright, politics, the Ukraine one, the pro-FDA elections.
Which one in R is your one in R? Is it one in R NDT doubles or one in R doubles?
NDT doubles.
Politics, pro-life elections.
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't know that.
Everything okay?
We're
just
to
gonna
check
take
the
the air.
AC. I mean,
Okay.
we got the call.
Oh, okay.
Just a few minutes.
Are we waiting or I'm guessing?
Yeah, I guess let's.
Yeah,
Let's wait a
it's
second.
How, how long do you think it's gonna take?
We don't know. If you wanna wait, we can come back when you guys are finished.
Yeah, let's probably come back.
Probably.
Yeah.
Okay,
Alright.
because someone called and said the air, it was too hot in here, so is it room temperature okay? Because I'm confused.
I
They
think
called to
we're fine.
complain and said it was too hot.
I think we're good. Thank
You're
you.
good, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry for any inconvenience.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Alright.
Giving a speech while we're fixing the AC. Yeah.
That was responsive. Georgetown, we'd be like seeing them in 3 weeks.
Yeah, Georgetown, you're like, there's mold in my room. They're like, yeah, maybe 2 months from now.
Okay, Georgetown, both y'all got the doc.
Yeah, I think we were good.
All 5 judges. Good. Repko good. Okay. Concede that PC is fake. We're not going for it. Prolif, concede. No Prolif plus conventional strike is inevitable. We're not going for it. The election CA. Trump 2.0 cause extinction. It's dropped. He'll trigger existential system failure in international relations that makes states fear deterrence failure. Causes tense relations between Korea, China, Russia, Iran to proliferate as it causes global nuclear war. No Trump war was a blip. No new one-year defense either since the straight block strategy. It turns the case. One is crisis ability. Trump caused nuclear arms racing. Biden reduced arms control. It solves. LOW. Kimball 24. Crucial faction challenging relative full-scale crisis will be 24. Race assaulting commander chief is to avoid nuclear war with Russia and China. Trump. They threaten to unleash fire, fury, fuel tension with China. No code Russia. Effective leadership and arms control. Avoid destabilizing arms race after the Sergeant 26. Trump refused extension. Biden dated, but impulsive risk reduction. Trump resources testing presidential leadership. Most important factor. Trump's risk of nuclear arms racing war. Rise or fall. 2 is solvency. A. Trump campaigns against the plan, decimating arms control. B. China fears rollback if the plan's divisiveness. Miller 20 unless consensus for changes as like this as a will overturn the president's policy on unbinding credibility in the eyes of adversaries will be had judged allow this in nuclear arena. C. 1 and C evidence says that backlash from the plan would cause calls for modernization in Congress that disrupt and then should make China distrust the plan. Plan solves is for the big, and if you have, you should update your blocks. You cannot solve the impact of global proliferators or Trump for striking Russia, Korea, or Iran. The first argument is that the plan solves the link. It does, and I'll do the link debate here. Biden is fending off attacks and foreign policy now for swing voters by maintaining a hard on China stance. The plan allows Trump to barrage swing voters 24/7. The Biden admits vulnerability to China that their children will be speaking Chinese. The attack odds right themselves, which causes quick vote switching for average voters, i.e. swings, which is cost low. Foreign policy is critical for a few swing states where voters can be swung. When is the RWS is near half of voters polled think the defense will be critical to their vote. They dropped this argument. 2AC vague analytics don't assume the strength of our foreign policy argument for swing voters because over half of them say that China is the threat. The argument that they made about how the plan can solve against this condition on China is not true. You should remember the cross-ex moment where they say that there was a window in which there's no instance with the United States can strike. It doesn't take out our T arguments given conditions, but it does mean that the average voter is extremely scared of the plan because they know that China would instantly be able to aggress. That is the message that Trump will tell voters, even if they think that the ideal interpretation of the plan is not uncontroversial. And if you get spent off defense trial in 2010, Obama mollify Republicans by budget, last budget increase in nuclear infrastructure, officials rule this all changes such as NFU criticizes too soft, soften China, alienates the entire electorate, Cox at 3-6, and the Hurley Brilliant politics, 81% of Republicans, 59% of independents, and 56% of Dems view China as a critical threat. Biden attack for going soft to China or worse appeasing it. Next argument is Trump wins. Biden wins now. The most predicted metric is early primaries and special elections. Biden's outperforming polls in those races. You should prefer Rosberg. It is a holistic analysis that indicts their poll. Prefer a one empirical record views category. And then fourthly, Rosenberg was right about the Congress election between two electoral visual polls punch you revolved around red wave. He disagrees. He was correct. Two actual voting always polls. Milligan 24. The media narrative is grim. Actual elections paint a different picture. The numbers were extremely encouraging. Elect across the country. Democrats winning special elections. Performing election polls. No vote. People vote. People have been voting down. Trump is underperforming polling in all recent elections. Samuels in 3-9. Trump is over president. Polls over voter behavior style match projection, including during this year's primary election. Trump has fallen short of what polls projection was struggle. Voters will play an outsized role in November. And if they win, the polling is good. Battleground organizing his best. People's 327. Trump's little investment states are going to decide election. Trump haven't made significant investments in Battleground. Trump has little election infrastructure to speak of. Disparity with Biden star. Biden's opening 100 new offices and 350 staffers. Early organizing is vital. Proves that now is key to the election. Milligan 329. NC is gettable as Georgia's prime. Blue walls neck and neck. Biden lost Wisconsin but picked up NC. He'd win. Biden started early. Georgia and North Carolina are extremely competitive. For early investment makes a difference. They say that polling matters the most. He wins now, which was that card that was already read here. However, this card says that national polls are tied now. Feldman 329 right now across election polling. The election is roughly a tie. Their evidence cites the recent Wall Street Journal poll. Our one is the evidence indicts that and says that it doesn't account for the success of special elections. However, newest polling, the Post states there, this poll shows that Biden's had plumber 4-4. A new poll shows that Biden's holding a double-digit lead over Trump in crucial states of Pennsylvania 48-38. Only twice the presidential candidate win without pen. WSJ released a polling data show Trump leads in 6 days. New result give comfort to the Biden campaign. Next argument is that other issues stump. The 2AC was atrocious on this argument. They gave vague buzzwords like economy and not foreign policy. However, we have read evidence that says that matters most in swing states. That should be the threshold for the 1 year. Foreign policy strength is the detriment of a strong leader. Freeman 23 relationship between FOBO and presidential voting. When voters think about candidates to do the best job of handling national affairs, traits like strong leaders who stand up to adversaries and pro-U.S. interests. Voters 3 times negative over a candidate based on a strong leader strength and decisiveness to praise the foreign policy platforms. Candidates have incentives to show that they are tough enough to serve. This year is different. Hand in 3 at 12-3. Next year's election different. Continue to press the focus attention on benefits and burdens of American leadership. We might experience rare phenomena in FOPO election. Foreign policy voters have doubled since 2022. Forza and 24. America said if FOPO policy top 5 issue, Republicans, Democrats, and more likely to list FOPO as an issue heading into 2024. 46% and 4% did the same. Unpopular foreign policy cost Biden the election. Even if it isn't a foreign policy election now, the plan would make it one. Saunders in 23. FOPO affect elections research and psychology and explored repugnant effects improve the use of military force. Unpopular policies on re-election chances of voters will likely to vote for candidates policy they like elections affect military strategy and tactics. Bigger connection between FOPO and elections. It is a foreign policy election. Why start in 24? America's think FOPO should be top focus in 24. We do. And this poll showing international concerns 4 and 10. Foreign policy gaining importance among 46% of R and 34% of D. The next argument is that Biden is losing on foreign policy now because of Gaza and Afghanistan. That is not true. Lim in 24. While early voters care about Biden's strong respect and foreign policy record comparable to Trump, Biden's winning on foreign policy now. Ward in 23. This is a foreign policy election. Christ global affairs. Senate Research campaign. Biden is touting he would keep the election focus of FOPO. It is familiar and comfortable to rank their broad support for Biden's policy. 73% said they could back the administration. The next argument is about Gaza and Ukraine is wrong. 1. It is 2 underlying premises that we will concede. 1. Now is key. What happens in March influences voting in November. 2. Foreign policy is key. Strike contradictory claims off your flow. They have made 2 competing claims. The NEG has to be able to concede one. Otherwise, we have to contradict ourselves to answer it. Support for Israel helps Biden. Melbourne 3. 23. Politics of Israel. Let's go. Gaza was Democrats' biggest vulnerability. There's no evidence whatsoever. People disagree with nothing to do with the side which side is on the largest number. Think these 2 pro-Palestinian. The smallest number think these 2 pro-Israel. It's not being supported by Israel. That's a problem. Backlash is media hype. Trust the data. Melbourne 323. Israel ceasefire vastly overstated. Every data journalist says no big deal. Servers, colonies, people focus on the data set. All the data journalists said meaningless. All the storytelling journalists wanted to tell a big story in the data irrespective of the facts. The pro-Israel vote outweighs the pro-Gaza vote. Melbourne 323. The argument on the left. Israel's a problem. If you look at the exit polls, about 1% of Michigan electors. Muslim America and Nevada 0%. So not large. The Jewish community. Michigan is 2%. Nevada 4. So you're really losing support because of this issue. There's just no evidence of that. There's no evidence he's lost support. Biden could lose all the voters and still win Michigan. Con 2. 24. Tuesday results in Michigan voters of Gaza. What does it mean for the general vote of uncommitted? Not just the same thing as voting for Trump. The effect is smaller Arab and Muslim voters. It's hard to see a huge swing being decisive. Imagine Biden lost every single voter in Jabber and Amtrak and Dearborn. He still would have won Michigan more than he did Wisconsin, Arizona, or Georgia. They are tuning in now, which disproves any other thumper. Schneider 3A. Biden starting to let it rip. Biden will stumble to every Vatican state. The barrage notable timing early. The Obama stands out and story assurances proving for Democrats without a vision and conscious campaign starts. Biden has left him down. His campaign really comes to focus. Polling dynamics win. Vote shift once the race clarifies voters turn into the race campaigns, picking up fundraising and volunteer engagement became more real clear.
A52.
So what are you at?
A52.
Yeah, I started back to unilateral.
No,
no.
We need an adult in there.
That was right. That was a good move.
Who initially said it was two?
When we walked in, it
It
was
was really hot, and I figured out how to turn on the air.
He got a lot of help.
So you're MacGyver.
He got a lot of help. Significant amount.
You're MacGyver.
They've always been kind of communal.
You're a big community person. You like leaning on others, drawing on others for support, and back.
Yeah, that's me.
Oh, you want me to do that first?
It's pretty un-American.
What's important? Actually, you can't.
Is that true? Where were you born?
Chew on that.
You'll be getting that. Gotcha. That's cool, that's cool. I really use at work where a child is the couple is from Venezuela, and so like the kid is with the mom, the dad comes to get the kid and like takes the kid to Texas, and the mom calls the cops and is like, this guy took my kid.
Yeah.
And he shouldn't have, because she says she has a Venezuela court order establishing that she's the sole custodian of the child. So the legal question.
Do you want to talk about this on the live stream?
I think it's okay.
All right.
I'm not naming any names. The question is, does Illinois have to abide by the court order in Venezuela? And there's all this like, there's a universal national child thing where it's like, basically the rule is, if the country is like following human rights stuff, then sure. And if you include it in a court order, sure. But like a lot of the cases in Illinois cite like two different India stuff, because like India is like a big, it just comes up a lot in child custody.
No, I agree. I agree. Yes,
It's one of the weird ones.
I'm with you.
What did you just say? Now, do you think the case
You know,
was
I abide
way
by
different
that.
if it was not Venezuela? Like if it was.
So one of the things I found, I couldn't find any cases that found the country, like human rights, had child laws that were gross violations of human rights. Like there's case law about a litany of different countries that you would find maybe on like a human rights violation list where the court was not willing to like go out of their way to say
I didn't know you could skip
you are, your law is so bad that,
Oh, interesting. Oh.
so it's like probably fine. So it's like, if they can produce this document, then it's got a pretty good argument.
Sounds hard to track down, to be honest.
Right, that's a whole thing. But
Where all the was there a lot of like birth certificates, right?
Can you just like
why would you not know that?
Yeah, I think it was. I don't know why.
Sure. Dollars.
Like
Maybe
don't
just a supplement.
don't worry about it.
That's really my personal business.
My money is none of your concern. Yeah.
Where you make your money.
I was a hired guy. I went down to that.
Very good, very good.
Yep. 443. Pebbleson.
Imagine president. Yes.
Oh,
Just
and
one AR. Yeah. We got six problems.
Imagine
okay, doc should have been sent. Space. China. Conditions. Tabakali. Elections. Repeating that again. Space. China. Conditions. Tabakali. Elections. Alright.
literally the same.
We'll get into
dull.
We'll get into that.
Cool.
Space access shuts off conflict station, blocks off the input flows, keeping the environment, food, water, space, resistance, to the top existential risk of Suzuki. We did not say impact defense of food wars, which they read for us in the one and see, so you know it's existential. China says the answer is the government evidence and more evidence, and China changes their cost calculation, which convinces them to engage with these things. 822, the US did reach out over bilateral sanctions, this reject the proposal of those things. The Beijing is fundamentally under insurance and already control the most of the other Chinese will engage with the injunction that benefits over the cost of the servant. The national interest, their evidence is not descriptive. They have the solid condition, but instead gives them an NFU immediately, and it gives them a couple of months in order to engage and say and prove that the US NFU was actually a thing which bypasses all of their arguments, which is about why we need to give the first step to be able to do it. Yes, asymmetric. China sees that this is asymmetric advantage for them to be able to go first in the crisis. They're willing to do so. Will aggress Galbraith. It's 23. China's rapidly developing against the counterspace, including weapons that has fielded operational counterspace weaponry. KAA sad they can out threaten the US system. Like demonstration cells get the rendezvous with orbiting the US allies in the second shot. This demonstration in this ending in the China. A good change of order with no passive ride, no warning, and the PLA space with those that control how the US offset. Otherwise, this is in line with the escalation base of terror. China has been demonstrated willing to resort to show his force. The US what's really for China overawing space regulating in the major copy. Their pack evidence about Russia proves which will concede. That's fine. Choose that. China is key. Now, yes, impact. We would respond to ASAP with round. In 21 fire race or below the laces to highlight the asymmetric Greek, these US astros, US astros, whichever is hard of the companion and those highlight the advantages during the conventional conflicts as the same action prior to conflict watching with you. And these actions rarely destabilizing exciting and nuclear response. Also impact on the top. Do you want anything else? I think that's fine.
No, go to China.
China.
I'm gonna have you read a card too.
Okay.
Do your thing first.
Concede there's no China modernization, not going for disadvantage, just answering the cross-application deterrence the docile space for China miscalculation, believe that the US will not respond to nukes. With nukes, they conventional ASAT attacks, but they're wrong. All causes are cross-applicable because they still be willing to engage in space drawdown, because they do certainly want an NFU, even if they're concerned about broader things. Yes, conventional conflict, when they see leaking evidence or linear flashpoints, subs colliding, field-based conflict, drawing in front lines, convinced avoid nuclear accidents, etc. Entirely circumvention diplomacy and no aggression arguments because it's. And then let's go. Usually leads are wrong. Granting is assuming the perfect rational man, not use system figures with 50 minutes of warning time revenge is a human emotion, which means it is possible. Any card?
I'm good.
Okay, conditions. AFF is not a condition that I largely did that on the hub, but the evidence does not apply to the AFF's rollback condition because it's incredibly clear bright line of what the AFF does. We do take the first step to the software, which answers the math argument. T. Rollback is squarely T. We mean every single negative definition of this should resolve just as it have to be certain. The app is certain. It certainly does an NFU right now, and NFU policies can by the future while being reversed with street evidence. Our NFU definition is saying that NFU with exceptions for attack types are not topicality. We meet that. We did not give any exception. Their evidence does not say that NFU must, in adopting the NFU policy, must last forever. We meet, which is all the cross-links definition. The dot means to put into effect, not permanence, so decline evidence and policy aligns the answer with me, which are the same evidence. It's not permanent, which the FP evidence China NFU was categorical, but still dropped with services based in literature IBT. In by T, this is the this long kill policy banning the possibility is quite high because it's seen the mother partner threat that the US before the pledge of the will not be the first to use it. Nukes at any time around the services to cover the balance to reach rationally and give people to the faith that the policy hinges on the evolution of relations. Excluding our rollback mechanisms arbitrary and divorce from the literature delay consistently discusses the possibility of China repealing an NFU doesn't make it not an NFU or mean they never stopped in the 60s. Obviously not and precision. This topic could be used words like established routines or permanent, but it's not that way. It's words to the rest. Or no based on high rap anything goes to the slippery stuff, the KF land and post hoc topic substitution that destroys some of the clashes of the NDT. She rewards spending the past 2 months iterating smart new strategy based on the wars of the rest and force teams to think of other people penalized it turns limits on ground. They're only useful insofar as they're predictable and kills out fairness. Speaking of any solution that they will go for ground and debatability arguments. After ground outweighs they want the most negative bias topic in history with only 5 outside which are taken seriously by policy makers and allowing countries only app sword app negative so fine. The allowing rollback is also fine. Still requires plan to adopt an NFU without carpets guarantees them link to assure revision. So purposes on etc. That was cross like yes the app gets unique answer but the distributes is good app not that it is topical.
So they can get new. They can like concede say no. They can say rollback is bad. All of that. And go to reasonable.
They can say no, they can read rollback, there's no explosion either, the rollback condition is so onerous that the no say no wins any debates, or it is literally nothing, which means that there's very little offense for the app to do so, which means that only solvency advocates get this right. Reasonability, it's bad. Straining in CS opposed to our parameter, the MIT creates a world hazard, and the concept of substance crowd that discourages app innovation and insightful research.
Elections. Yep.
Elections. Case outweighs, there's no explanation for why Trump evidence, the why Trump escalates our evidence just that the hotspots but not why that escalates before. It says wars but never gets to nuclear level, and appears that Trump is fine, but ASAP says it never happens before. Case solves the impact because it draws down our perceptions by engaging in dialogue with our biggest adversaries. Now, no like the plan shows fine is a good negotiator rather than giving concessions. All their evidence is about broad NFU, but the plan is actually concession for China speaks to regime, which is not solved in China done. In 22, MD can be able to the broader negotiative push of recognition of the dangers of unrestrained strategic competition holding indulgence, and can reduce the opposition to the US Congress and to US allies acknowledgement. Can be folded in the joint agreement for stabilization, mutual authority. So very solid to the critical a formal recognition of the mutual funding. Also, no turns case because it's placed in a couple of years, and the app is durable, which means that if even the Trump is the case, he won't roll back, which is that China believes it. The message stuff that they spin is cute, but if Charles says anything, then it's obviously inevitable because it will be able to take any Biden foreign policy slip. Their evidence is all about broad interview that work with something above. Now, certainty. You should be incredibly skeptical that they can predict the future if they were right that any single one thing thumbs to any black swan is sufficient to be able to flip in any instance. What?
Policy docking.
Foreign policy is not salient to voters. Saunders in 16, but most little effect on election. The hardware politician, the sway voters to be some foreign affairs, other issues are not salient consider Vietnam. Despite these salients, most were not based on Vietnam foreign policy, not based on other basic values, such as the crime and integration and sex. Provide the filter voters and then in favor of them project their desired wishes onto that can. Their evidence is bad. It just as the foreign policy might play into the calculation. Some people not that is overwhelming for the election security. Thumbers, Gaza, Trump, Gaza, and Ukraine all prove that Trump already has the necessary ammo he needs to be able to do so. Our evidence says that Michigan voters are already pissed off, which proves that their swing states already flow negative. The Biden loses now. He's getting rolled in Michigan, which is the knockout evidence that takes some swing states are about. RFK dooms Biden or Ocasio. Import 4. Kennedy can make elected more than those social do make the value of Kennedy does severe. It creates higher implications for Biden. Poll show that Kennedy reforming will among Latino voters and doesn't by the coalition will reach other Biden's Hispanic coalition. Kennedy's more popularity appears to be a function of any recognition lack of enthusiasm for Biden marked at Biden. More evidence round in 328. Biden's campaign interviews they had their regular relations going Asian immigration Gaza and economy all of which are some of the results of some regular primaries. By then they could be called in the man. If it doesn't consider the economy, Americans think it's bad. Marked at Americans think it's bad.
Wait, Brown?
Yeah.
Okay, wait,
Americans.
sorry. Okay, I didn't see that. Okay, what are you at?
What do they have?
They have like 6 or 7.
So it's 27 out of this we have.
No, I have 827, but I don't think
Yeah,
it's
no.
that.
I think it's 6 or 7.
I think that's great.
Adam, you're not robbing me of cred, right?
I don't think so.
Okay,
Okay,
Maybe.
that's 6 or 7.
6 or 7.
Yeah, I need to go back.
Okay, you didn't read this Roy 22 card on T, right?
I don't. No. Think so.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Sure. Yep.
elections 1, 2. So China then space.
You have other speakers.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. Georgetown, do you have that?
Sir,
yeah, I don't have it yet.
Actually, I don't have it either. I can check if you.
I just
Oh, just.
Yeah, there it is.
I'm good.
Okay.
Trump 2.0 caused extinction of resulting global system bureaus that make effective deterrence impossible in North Korea, Iran, Russia, China all rely upon the promise of a rational leader to make the deterrence calculation that an unrestrained president will unleash nuclear strikes globally cause adversaries to preemptively attack fear of US beating them to the point you know what caused extinction happens this year, and they have no defense given the irrationality of Trump. The overview, the yes turns case arguments. The Kimball evidence says that Trump would be in release fire and fear his life. He would tear arms control to shred both in nuclear and broader arms control over things like space, and he would increase nuclear testing, which increases Chinese fear to do things like A-side attacks, and irrationality, which causes Chinese conflict. The Miller evidence says that the durable fiat does not get them out of Miller. It says that Trump would run against the plan, which makes it seem like it's toothless, so they have no reason to say yes to the plan, but also Congress would implement measures to circumvent and get rid of the plan, even if it does not minimize the plan. You know that there are things such as U.S. modernization that still fear China, which means that it circumvents the effect of the plan, which basically zero solvency. They have to rely on China saying yes and not fearing the United States anymore in order to win it, but you know that the election would absolutely fuck that. The impact defense at the top won. This is all new, so you should strike it off your flow, but because that's the NDT, I'm going to cover my bases. No, yes, I should. I'll have time. Empirics and cross-sector on favor. And that's when Trump looks like understanding what's important. Clearly, we guard our drivers and Trump to be different. And the changes in geopolitical environment, Trump would act in party sort of what he's doing. Mid major harbors, Europe, Middle East, and Taiwan. And that's he's around no good crystal leadership. Trump would lend resistance to the international trade regime. Paris would like military action, willing to cut strikes on Iran. Trump would result in extraordinary geopolitical stability with higher power vacuum. Now, the link turn. Concession of the 1 and C link means that, or the 1 and C link means that this can only be very small amounts of defense. The plan cost Biden the election. It is overwhelmingly unpopular. Over 50% of voters in key swing states like Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Wisconsin, etc. all consider China to be the biggest U.S. enemy. One state cost us the pan result. An attack as to Biden until voters he abandoned the U.S. and bent a knee to Xi because China would be able to nuclear first strike us, and he gave Xi a win in his statue this country's future. This message shapes voters' choices, not the ideal interpretation of the after. Evidence is good that the plan could be a tool to say that U.S. interests or help allies, but the attack ads write themselves in Tracy Crossix and Clip played in and add allies would hear is the plan does not allow nuclear first use against China, which means the app definitionally puts Biden a step behind. The plan being, quote, good faith negotiation is our argument. A linear one in our evidence says that polling shows voters want a leader that is tough on China, enforces deterrence, and doesn't bend a knee to appeasement, even though the plan can't get rolled back. Voters don't care about the legal minutiae, and so it only bans first use. Done is ideal implementation, not voter perception or the attack ads that Trump would decide to run on. Don't give them ideal spin given. They've conceded the uniqueness argument. They've conceded the uniqueness argument. The next argument is that the Black Swans argument. One is that there are no examples in the one air situation, not get to do so. Two is that even if we cannot make perfect predictions, you know that everyone is healthy, and then they're probably going to make the election. Concession of uniqueness means that should heavily err negative, given that should not zero the disadvantage. Foreign policy key is a joke. The Saunders evidence is from 2016 and too old. The first piece of our evidence says that leaders, voters like strong leaders that are best at handling jobs and able to be adversaries. So voters are 3 times as likely to vote for the electorate. That shows strength in foreign policy, which would be Trump after the plan. This year is a rare phenomenon because the new crises such as Israel and Ukraine, but those do not take it out. Given uniqueness below 40%, are now believing that the Saunders, the Saunders evidence, the Ukraine and Israel, Michigan stuff, what he has done, but they've conceded uniqueness from a few days ago that says 73% support his foreign policy. Foreign policy right now, RFK is wrong. Code 120, include Kennedy. He barely fixed the margin between 2 major party candidates. Right, from them equally. None of this evidence says that this would affect swing voters, the people that have already decided on things like Israel that are pro-Palestine. The people that decided Ukraine are not swing voters because they are not up in limbo. But the swing voters that identify on policy are looking for the strong leader. The last argument about uniqueness. 1, foreign policy key tubes all of these stump arguments. 2 is that we have other swing states other than Michigan that takes us out. 3 is that Israel support is saving him because he's maintaining some level of neutrality, which is getting some people on board, which is why he did the strategic thing to maintain ambiguity with Israel when he went to Michigan. More evidence says that he is winning inside of things like special elections. Trump is not early organizing, which should give the lead in the status quo, so which means that you know that Biden will win now and save the LIO, but anything else fucks it. Now the China advantage, all of this defense on this page takes out the other advantage. No user to lose it. Applies to every scenario because on the ASAT advantage, because it means that the U.S. would decide to flush its subs, use conventional weaponry, pursue diplomacy, surrender to China before it decided to use a nuclear strike. Use a strike. The 2-year and 1-year. The vague postures of why ASATs would attack should make you very skeptical. The chronic evidence says this is academic malpractice to avoid questions of why it would decide to go nuclear. The next evidence is the gold seed evidence. Even China knows the literature on the advantage. They are scared as fuck about nuclear weapons, so they would not decide to use first. But the U.S. also knows that a nuclear war would be devastating, so they was not to strike first either, which is the one to see deterrence disadvantage because they don't have a space deterrence false card. So this should equally apply and mitigate the advantage. Lastly, is that ASATs require a prior conventional conflict to occur, which means that because China does not randomly ASAT, which means that all of our defense on this page takes it out. One is that they're scared of U.S. military backlash and scared of a U.S. SOI. You should invert your calculation starting from 0% because military planners always start high, but econ and politicians do not. They're interdependent. The empirics prove that they exercise restraint. Public opinion does not want to go to war, and there's no place for them to go to conflict in places like the ECS, and their conventional capabilities are vulnerable, which is the null evidence. Now the space disadvantage. We multiply the defense on the other page with our specific the impact defense about ASATs on this page. There's no terminal existential risk impact. One, Trump would probably make all of these way worse. Two, is that they conceded the list of 2 and C all causes, such as other actors that could be able to solve. There are other issues before we able to resolve things like climate change, food, etc. And they do not close off space permanently because other countries have incentive to launch, which means the space impact should not be at the top of your decision, but the disattack happens way faster than this. Now, there's no ASAT attack. They pursue de-escalation inside of space, which is proven by past treaties and current hotlines that exist. The U.S. red line is not that they would use nuclear weapons, but they probably could engage in testing or use conventional weapon, which is a 2 and C evidence. The U.S. has explicitly said that it would not use nuclear weapons to retaliate in the face of an ASAT attack, especially because it is a disproportionate response, which means that all of our defense on the other page equally applies, and the 2 and C no U.S. ASAT attack also says that it is stated U.S. policy that we would decide not to. The card after that says that we don't have enough accuracy to determine whether it is an effective attack on an ASAT, so it would not endanger U.S. interests, or we would wait to figure out how bad the ASAT attack was and then pursue the actions that are remedial that act in response, which means that it would not be escalated. Lastly, is that ASAT attacks are hard to figure out. Wait, I don't know what that says. I know ASAT attacks are hard to pull off, so China can't do them, and if they do, the rare occasion, it means they don't escalate.
order, the space advantage, the China advantage, the elections delay. Okay, is everyone good? Yep, okay. Awesome. Actually, yeah, this. Cool. Massive reciprocations internal links that are actually germane to our mechanism outweighs the list of risk of a shoddy politics this out that has a billion missing internal links and does not have a real impact. They have conceded that China says yes to the plan, which means that you know the plan is both necessary and sufficient to solve Chinese restraint in space. Otherwise, they will use ASAT attacks in a host of crises that are structurally likely. The 1AC11 evidence postdates all of their defense. It says there are a host of crises that are structurally likely now. Things like conflict over the Taiwan Strait, China beating its chest around Taiwan, or ships coming within 41 meters of each other, crises in the South China Sea, East China Seas, or over North Korea all escalate because there are a host of red lines that are unclear. The 11 evidence says there are tons of thresholds because neither side is talking to one another. Neither U.S. or China knows when it will cross one of those thresholds, which means there are a host of factors that can cause them to stumble into conflict. All of the NEG's defense assumes things like perfect rationality and the fact that no one wants war, but it does not speak to the fact that both sides could stumble into conflict because they do not know where the other one's red lines lie. That means that China will ASAT attack in the early in a crisis. They will use it because they know the United States is asymmetrically dependent on space, and they have a doctrine of escalate to de-escalate to try to keep the United States from intervening in crisis and keep the U.S. military on its toes. The U.S. will respond with nuclear weapons. The 1AR Brown evidence as well as the 1AC evidence indicates the United States will see this as a fait accompli and think that it has no choice but to launch its own nuclear arsenal. That outweighs. We are the only one who gets nuclear war. They have read a bunch of evidence that Trump will make the global order unstable, but they have not told you how that goes nuclear. We don't know why it happens, when, how, why. So you should be incredibly skeptical of it. It turns it is sad. It means that Biden loses if it happens before the election because he will be the president known for starting a nuclear war with China. It also turns all of their terminal impacts because it globally destabilizes the world. It makes all of the shit that they have said is bad inevitable. The new extra Stevens doesn't matter because I'm not going for it. Yes, they will ASAT attacks. All of their vague gestures at all costs don't speak to the specificity of our evidence, which says that China is highly likely to do it. Their evidence talks about things like China's own dependence on space, but our evidence assumes this, says that China sees it as an asymmetric advantage. So even though they might lose out on space access, they would do it anyways because they think the benefits are worth it. Its proportionality does not matter. If the United States loses access to its entire military force, it will feel backed into a corner like it has no option. It means it cannot flush subs or move mobile missiles because its entire nuclear infrastructure is crumbling. Evidence that the U.S. U.S. policy is wrong, speculative, and is postdated by all of our cards. We would not wait for this because we would see it as an existential threat incoming. The China advantage. No use it or lose it is wrong. Krennic is assuming perfect rationality, which will never happen in the fog of war. The Trufanov has dropped that revenge is a human emotion. We are all hardwired to respond with violence against perceived nuclear attacks, especially under compressed decision time, especially for ASATs. They jeopardize the heart of the U.S. nuclear deterrent and make Washington fear they are under attack, which cites a nuclear response. China can and will attack. They have both capabilities and motive because of asymmetric U.S. reliance. Deterrence is not solved because they don't think the U.S. would respond. Yes, conventional conflict. I did all of that work above. Now elections. You should prefer a scenario that you have epistemic certainty about. Each 1AC impact is reverse causally solved by our mechanism, which you know because the 2NR has conceded it. You should be highly skeptical of their elections. To all of this is incredibly probabilistic and requires a ton of factors to line up just right. So even if they win the quote-unquote direction of uniqueness or a link, that itself is just a probability. Tons of things like black swans, October supply surprise, all could flip the calculus. You do not know what's going to happen tomorrow in politics. Trump could get taken off the ballot by the court, go bankrupt. Biden could croak, all of which would make you incredibly hesitant about the future of the world, with a high likelihood of nuclear war on the risk of an ASAT that does not have a real intrinsic link to the AFF or reason it is bad. You also should not feel bad given that decision is the elands of the NDT. Instead of going for a core topic decided to interview, they have gone for contrived politics nonsense. Now the impact is non-existent. The 2NR has set a bunch of words for you, but the impact cannot possibly be that bad. The 1AR said that the last term proves it does not cause global conflagrations, even if Trump threatens fire and fury, which he has done before. Things are inevitably resilient and solved by the AFF because we draw down tensions in the world's most important relationship and the one that's most likely to go nuclear. Russia would not go nuclear because of things like Ukraine, the fact that its conventional military is getting fucked, or it would, and that's inevitable. North Korea would it because it would be suicide, which is the only scenario for nuclear escalation is China, which is solved by the AFF. Other impacts checked by institutions and cooperation, which will play and boost a 1AR argument that was conceded no turns Iran's case, fire, and fury. In the past, Trump administration flews the plan against durable fiat, so China would not nuke because they know it would be suicide, and we locked their NFU in place, which they won't abandon. Congress cannot roll it back as long as China meets our space condition, which they have conceded will happen, means that it doesn't matter. Trump running against the plan does not matter because it's not in office, so it cannot personally turn case. Now, the link debate, they are wrong about it. There's no link, and only a risk of a link turn. Their evidence spin would be compelling if this was a normal China NFU act, but it is not. The plan extracts a concession from China, the one in our Trump evidence. Says the criticism would be that Biden is being too soft. The one in our Cox evidence says Americans view China as a critical threat. The plan directly caps that by locking their NFU in place and getting them to agree to space restraint. You should read their link evidence through the frame of this link turn and the one in our done evidence from 2022 that says that coupling an NFU with restraint from China would quiet political backlash and dispel concerns. We are the only team that has evidence that both assumes the plan's mechanism and its comparative to their link argument, which you should prefer. The 1AC Perkovich evidence also says the plan would boost allied relations that allow us to quote-unquote rally against China, which is exactly what their link authors say that voters want us to do. All of this means that Biden would be able to campaign on it if they are right that Trump campaigns against it. Obviously, Biden can campaign on it according to all of these premises, which they have said that voters like. This should mean, at worst, you should be incredibly skeptical of the link and not give them the full weight of any impact or internal link, because there are at least mitigating factors that cut the other way. So maybe it makes some voters more likely to vote for Trump, and it can also make other voters more likely to vote for Biden, which is why all of this should cancel out and you should vote affirmative. Trump also wins now. Biden is losing leftist standards polls in Michigan. Preview is getting outrun compared to 2020. Then he barely won. That's a NEG evidence. It's really good. We read it in the 2AC because it's that good, and it concludes that the lack of action on Gaza will cost Trump the election in Michigan. Also, because of black swans, mean their Howard-Stuggy claims is wrong. They also that they have also don't have good AFF evidence on the question of RFK, which our evidence says independently will cost him an election. It will steal Biden's Hispanic coalition necessary for him to win swing states. That's the Carrasco evidence. Their evidence does not assume the strength of his popularity with Hispanic voters, which independently flips the election independently. Foreign policy is not key to all of this. Voters care about things like the economy, healthcare, proven empirically, or if so, then Gaza and Afghanistan paint Biden as weak. They're trying to concede one part of this, but don't get the argument we are making, which is that either foreign policy is relevant or tons of other factors mean that it's inevitable.
Next one on the
I've probably not going to be out shortly. Yeah, that'd be great.
Set up anything?
Nope, it's all set up.
Great. Congratulations to both teams. The decision is a 5-0 for the negative from Kansas. I'm happy to start. I think a very central issue is whether or not the link alone to the disadvantage complicates the case. I sort of agree with the affirmative that they get durable fiat, but the negative read 2 cards, one of which intimated that the Congress would do countermaneuvers to the affirmative, and that would sort of scuttle the dynamic between the United States and China. Then they sort of read another, more general card, which suggested that that credibility would kind of create a broad problem. That card was a little less relevant. And I sort of wish that had been pushed back on a little bit more particularly, although I spent a lot of time on whether or not the affirmative could lock in a relationship between the United States and China on space in the interim. But it did feel like those countermeasures from Congress would happen pretty fast. And I ultimately concluded that a lot of the case solvency did hinge on sort of an ongoing relationship being positive. There's a different turns case thread that is also a little bit of a problem, just Trump sort of tearing up all arms control. They said nuclear testing would occur, Trump would be aggressive in a million ways towards Sunday. I thought that this had created problems for the affirmative solvency. In terms of the link to the disadvantage, this is where maybe the affirmative could have gotten back into it because the link alone wouldn't have done as much damage. I sort of felt that the affirmative no link cards were more specific but not ultimately terribly germane to the electorate, and that they actually assumed mutual vulnerability, which is where the negative evidence sort of picks up and says that that would be very bad for voters. It was much more in depth as it related to China, the negative evidence set, and I thought that the negative also got ahead on just the spin game that would occur in the world of attack ads and changing relative voter choice. So once you fell behind on the link, I felt like it wasn't just the normal problem of falling behind on the link to the disadvantage, but also a solvency problem. From there, I appreciate the affirmative's appeal to complexity, but I do think the affirmative might have been better served sort of locking in on 1 or 2 threads and trying to iron them home. I can go into any thread in detail, but I thought the negative evidence was solid on a lot of the questions that were raised. And I also sort of thought that the indites on the negative impact were maybe slightly oversold. I can kind of agree that there are elements of the negative impacts that are sort of impact spammy, laundry listy, but I thought it was a little bit better than the affirmative gave it credit for. I did, for clarity, give you some reductions on the disad, not much on the link, but I tend to judge these things just from the honest perspective that no one really knows who will win the 2024 election, and you put up a fight there, and even if the negative put up more of a fight on uniqueness, it would be hard to grant the disad 100% weight, but I thought the disadvantage was in the medium to high range with some pretty germane case turns arguments. The hardest issue for me to resolve is whether or not the line in one of your Gompert and Saunders cards suggested that very quickly the plan would lock in an inertia that would make it difficult for the countermeasures in the world of the disad to unravel the affirmative solvency. Had I dispositively voted AF on that, I think this debate would have been closer because I thought you were doing okay on how bad an ASAT event would be. but I thought the bulk of affirmative evidence hinged on an ongoing set of dialogues. I struggled with how quickly China would feel the weight of congressional reactions to the plan, and I ultimately thought that maybe even the one line that was the best for you in the bottom of Gompert and Saunders was not highlighted as much as it could be, and maybe also a little bit descriptive and not quite normative to get to the point where China definitely would never roll back its commitments. Unrelated, as just a side point, I didn't really vote on this, but I do think that this affirmative has potentially the biggest vulnerability to rollback that's imaginable, given the nature of the affirmative. And I've judged Kansas multiple times, and they really want to say the plan gets rolled back. This was a plan, Kansas, that actually could have gotten rolled back. But I don't think you pushed too hard on that element. Ultimately, I also thought the case D from Advantage 1 was germane because I struggled to find an ASAT attack that would transpire in a world without a precipitating event. And not only did the affirmative, arguably, because of the Turns case arguments, make those precipitating events increase in the short term, but the case D was at least germane. And so, kind of when it all pieced together, I thought that the probability of the case, particularly some solvency questions, was not high enough to outweigh the disadvantage. As an aside, a lot of people kind of say this in the Elings of the NDT. I loved the AFF, I loved the paper, I loved the spunk, I loved the affirmative, and I just maybe thought that there needed to be more of a 2AC through 2AR design on elections, because the broad strokes are there, but the probability of the disad and its complicating features became a little bit too much for the AFF to handle, in my opinion.
I agree most strongly with where Repko left off, which is that I loved the strategy and you all debated fantastically, and I particularly appreciated the clarity of the communication on what you clearly anticipated was going to be a heavily contested point. Like, it was clear that you had walked through exactly how to explain the stuff, and the language was extremely well crafted, and like, I was completely with you on topicality. I would have decided very fast. I don't know how the rest of the panel felt about that. That having been said, the way that I do this slightly differently is that the way that I understood the Trump/congressional countermeasures pushback takes out the case argument was a step before the link. Like, I did not really understand that to be connected to they have to win that the plan is unpopular in order for China to see Trump running attack ads against this and Congress doing stuff that's aggressive and thinking to themselves, this is not a deal that is going to last beyond a single term. The implication of that to me was that while I do agree with Repko that you have a lot of good pushback on the link, I probably think that the NEG is marginally ahead, but I ultimately don't really think it matters because the durability of the app would be called into question, and the 2NR clearly draws that implication and says that that would result in China outright saying no to the follow-on ASAT agreement, so no NFU, so no solvency. I think that you could push back against this. There's a lot of stuff that 2AR could say, and I can talk through, like, I did some work for you in some places to see if I could, like, put together a thing to, like, make it work from the words you said, but you just didn't really have a part in the 2AR where you addressed that specific implication on point. And so, case was 0 to me for that reason. The way that that implicated the way that I thought of the DA was that, so I thought about, can I vote AF on a straight turn, which is like Biden weak looking now, link turn proves Biden would look strong because he negotiated such a great deal on China. I think that you are behind on uniqueness for a lot of the reasons that Repko said, but additionally that many of the best uniqueness arguments that you are forwarding, since they now mitigate equally the risk of your offense from the link turn and the risk of their offense from the link, they don't matter as much. So for example, if RFK determines the outcome of the election and as your card is tagged dooms Biden, that equally implicates your link. Another example is Saunders' foreign policy not key. It wouldn't matter if the link turn made Biden look stronger. I was very with you on a lot of those arguments, and I probably, if the case had been bigger, would have thought that the DA was a little bit lower than Repko was describing, just because like I was really vibing with this like broader push about complexity. And to me, the like point where you pointed out where it's just like, oh, it doesn't matter that the polls 3 days ago said that Trump was winning because now Biden is winning, that just like demonstrates the volatility of the election. Like I thought that was a really compelling use of their evidence to like explain how your arguments interacted. But ultimately, like all of those arguments would then implicate your offense to the same degree that it implicates theirs. So even less of the uniqueness stuff that you ended up going for was relevant. A final thing that I will say is a weird thing that happened is that you removed Trump from the ballot on the prologue page, and then they did not perm that, and then you didn't kick it, and then nobody talked about it. So if I think that, then mathematically you can't win because the NEG removes Trump from the ballot. Nobody talked about this. I sat there for a while. Most of the reason why I thought for a while about this was just like, I don't know what to do in this situation.
Yeah.
So that's why I waded through and resolved the uniqueness debate, because I was like, I'm really hoping I don't have to think about this, and I didn't.
That's
But
they said it for him.
they did.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, whatever. Well, then I did not.
I don't think they conceded it for him.
Yeah,
I think
they
they said
didn't
pro
kick
if
him.
inevitable. Yeah.
I was sure about that part.
Nice. Happy to go next. I'll lead off by saying I've thoroughly enjoyed judging you all this year. Connolly, I thought you'd given some incredible speeches. Your speeches in this debate were very good. Your expertise on the case was very good. You were very easy to understand and flow, and very persuasive. I think kind of trying to be additive instead of redundant. At the point where you're breaking a new app, it's dialogue themed. Make it secret to like cut off some of this election stuff. At the point where they're not asking, at least. And Adam, I feel like I've judged you a couple times over the years. Also, I've seen a lot of growth from you over the years. You've given some awesome speeches. The debate I judged you at, where you were NEG against a space AF, and you did a great job like zeroing the case without many cards. Should have probably tipped off that there was something going on in the box, but I think this is a debate where 1ARs in this situation are hard because, you know, new app, like prep things before the NDT, lots of stuff going on, but wanted more stuff to work with on the elections DA for sure. Big picture RFD is, I thought that they won a lot of their DA. I thought that you actually won a good amount of your case. That's one place where I've differed. I thought that the impact defense read by the NEG was a lot of high-level debating about the structural incentives for a conflict to occur, which lowered the ceiling of probability, but it didn't disprove the AF scenarios for conflict. I thought that if China and the United States had all these situations where, you know, a ship bumping into each other could cause some conflict to escalate, that was certainly possible in the world of the affirmative. I wish that the 2AR was a little bit more talking about like the space stuff in your advantage. I felt like you were very reliant on the 2AC card you read about crises. But I think that they win a lot of the DA, and the turns case stuff was the crucial part of the debate. Because if they turn your case and they have some sort of extra impact here, even though you're doing a good job pointing out that their scenario isn't super precise, it's enough for me to vote negative. Things to add, for advice for the AF, some of the negative impact defense they're reading on case, I think you could try to distinguish from your affirmative scenario in a way that you then apply to, one, your AF solvency. So like a lot of their incentives for why countries don't want to go to war, to me, are incentives for why China would want to stay at the negotiating table to work out this fundamental problem in the security dynamic. That doesn't necessarily take out your impact in my mind, because like you're talking about, you know, user-loser pressures, like irrationality, stuff like that. I also think it could have been used to take out some of their election impact too, because their thing seems to be operating on global system failures, quote unquote. So maybe that could apply to them as well. But yeah, I'll pause there.
Really, really great debate. I think this is the first time I've done you two debating together, and it was fantastic. I thought the app was really awesome. I thought that, just like Drew said, the explanation of everything was really clear. I don't know about T, but I'm like probably leaning more AF than NEG. Just it seems like the NEG like didn't get the themes that you were going for, and then probably leaning more AF. So I think you all are fantastic. Really, it's just you needed more cuts to the elections DA proper. Maybe more on the link level. I'm probably really close to Theo. Like you're doing pretty well on the case. You lost the turns case stuff, which meant the case was 0, NEG, and then I think the DA was pretty big. I think I was closer on. I think that there was pretty high risk of the link given the way the negative framed how the app would be spun by Trump. And I thought that they were doing pretty well on explaining the impact.
Well, I do jive a lot with the complexity arguments that you were going for, especially like there's no internal link, so it's laundry list impact card. I like Repko, that their evidence was maybe better than you gave it credit for, especially the Perez card from the 1 at C that does say there would be a nuclear war, there would be a WMD crisis, and that Trump would be the precipitating factor for that. So I think there's a big chance of a nuclear war from Trump winning the election. Probably turns the case, and the case is large, but not certain that a crisis will happen given a lot of their case defense.
Really great debate. I don't think I've seen you two debate this well before. I feel like especially the command of presence, cross-site speeches, especially in the 2AR, I thought was so impressive. So you two should be very proud of what you've done here. I saw the debate exactly the same as all 4 other judges. Couple of tips I might add was I thought the pivot that you were going to make was go for the testing rather than the actual ASIP usage, because it seems like if you just go for testing, you don't have to win anything about crisis stability, use it or lose it. Like all of those are gone. Like the threshold for a case seems to be really, really low. So I think that maybe that might have been a better impact choice than what you had gone for. And I think that also allows you to potentially implicate some of the link on the DA. So like I was thinking, Chinese balloon was very salient. Like that's something that people could run attack ads on, right? So like next time China launches ASAT attacks, like that might look really bad on Biden if Biden can control things like that. So I think there's potentially more opportunity to use that advantage more effectively against this DA. I think on the dissad, I agree that maybe picking one or the other might have been better, either link or uniqueness. But I think that the strategy that you went for link, I think, needs to have more cards on just like NFU is popular. And I think one thing I might say is that generally, I think KU's cards are like really short, a lot of like fortune cookie 2-line cards. So I think if you just had like 2 good cards on the AFF, playing mechanism, then I think that might be like a better way of like getting back on the DA rather than trying to spread yourself too thin on both link and uniqueness. And the one thing about the impact, I also like the complexity argument, and maybe I might push back on that framing just a little bit, because I think some component of the app also kind of depends on complexity, in my opinion, insofar as you say like North Korea, sub-pumping, like all of those random things might just randomly cause conflict. So I don't think that the impact framing that you're making, I think some of that argument also applies to your own impact, but I do agree that framing was good, but I think it just needs to be initiated a little bit earlier in the debate for me to count it, because I did feel like parts of the Twitter did feel a little bit new in terms of the overall case explanation and impact.
I don't think I have questions. That was all very helpful and thorough.
Thank you all for kind words, really appreciate it, and you all are great as judges and really appreciate all all the effort that you put in, and all of you, seriously, it's been a pleasure to debate you all throughout the year, so thanks all.
The first one is like, is there a way either in the 1NR or the 2NR to get rid of this either shotgun thumper uniqueness thing? It's like a 2AC that just makes a list of issues, and then the 1AR picks one. Seems kind of difficult to answer. And I thought just foreign policy key if you got rid of it, but then I was kind of struggling with 2NR. Is there a better way to either preempt this or get rid of it?
I think you did a good job in the 1NR by just answering all of them and reading a bunch of cards on each one. That's probably the best way to do it. I think foreign policy key might not be the best route, just given that if I were the app, I would read a bunch of foreign policy thumpers like Gaza and double down on that. That also make the foreign policy key argument, make the 2NR more difficult. So I don't know, other than what you did, which is probably the right thing.
I think I would, in this instance, I might have a framing argument that's let's hold the line to the 1AR introduction of the items that were at least laundry listed analytically in the 2AC. Because there is a different 1AR that's complexity, here's more examples of it, and then I would lock down on the warrants that they've provided, and I don't know that you could get judges to not read backline cards for the warrants in the 2AC. I think they could. But I do think you could probably get judges to feel a little sympathetic for the negative if now we're randomly talking about different foreign policy episodes that weren't even mentioned.
If the 2-NR got to RFK and like strike nowhere in the 2AC, like, are you letting the 2A spend time on RFK? Like, it wasn't a
RFK, I
risk.
didn't think you could have that.
fine with that.
Yeah, I think the 2-NR said no RFK.
Okay. Then the other like judge psychology thing, like the impact defense at the top of the 1 area, that's like thump or whatever. If I was like strike, not gonna read a card, is that one?
Oh, I think you did that right.
Okay.
They did not say specifically that Trump doesn't cause a war in the 2AC, right?
I thought they did.
Did they?
I didn't think.
They had like a one sentence or somewhere.
I'm gonna, whatever the individuals say here, I'm gonna advise writ large that people let final rebuttalists use the cloak of impact calc to make a lot of impact index.
Yeah.
Much more so than the previous questions that you asked. Like, so I sense that there was a 2NR moment where you were reading 2 cards and your cards were not according to the Marshall Plan. Marshall wanted you to move on, okay, all right? And I disagree with Marshall on the impact questions. I think it helped,
Yeah,
okay?
I agree.
And I think they would have gotten away with more late-breaking schma on impact stuff, but maybe RFK, I think, and it sounds like this sentiment is maybe broadly reflective of where to draw these lines. But the best debaters appreciate nuance, and there will be certain judges that will let it all fly or will be highly technical.
The next thing is the thing I realized I didn't do is like Biden good. I was like very good on like Trump bad, but like the Kimball thing also is like Biden would like do crisis or whatever. Is that turns case argument like persuasive if it's not about ASATs? Like Kimball's like he pursue arms control, like it's like
It helps on uniqueness against Paradigm,
Yeah.
Okay.
but I don't think it's its own argument.
Yeah, because you didn't say Biden does NFU.
No,
Yeah.
but like it was like he does good thing. Okay. The third thing is like so like the ASATs thing, like we basically didn't have impact defense. I was like combing through everything and like found some like mag cards. Is there a better way to apply or like generic use it or lose it thing than the 2NR tunes did, or like did I like do the maximum that I could with that?
It felt like in this debate, I would have appreciated more specific China war, like these little hotspot and interactions won't escalate. They happen all the time. We already have all this stuff in place. Not that risky. But that's kind of a unique thing that happened in this debate. I don't know if in a different debate, this same AF would have given a different 2AR. So I don't want to like give an overarching comment there. But that's what I was missing in this debate.
There was an entire space topic. Kansas has cards, and Bricker will be mad at you. You definitely have cards on ASATs. 100%,
Yeah,
okay?
That's definitely true.
Now, you might need to figure out where they are, but you did the best with the ones you put forward, I thought.
And like something use oh like with the ev we had, is there an answer to like random line in 1ACF that's like shit bumping?
I thought that the Von Sydow card or whatever was like a good framing thing that you had across all the next speeches that was like, yeah, well, let's be a little bit less concerned about all these random things and be more concerned with the totality of how China feels about the U.S. deterrence policy and less likely to go to war. So I thought that was like the best way to frame what you did. So yeah, good job.
I like their 2AC card. That's the one that I thought the 2AR was doing the most analysis off of, personally.
Yeah, the things that I will say about finding cards are, I think all debaters should install indexing software that lets them search their cards, so you should do that, and then that's the first thing. And then the second thing is,
GM's macros broke his computer a little.
Well, I know I did, and I literally combed everyone. I could only find impact cards. I was like, I'm fucked.
You have it, and
waste
someone
time
in
on this.
Kansas in
Yeah,
15
yeah,
minutes
yeah.
is going to be like,
Yeah.
No excuses.
it's happening.
the other thought that I had was like, you obviously have like China works all by economic interdependence, and given that their impact is like, it's like, yeah, it's asymmetric, but like, if you like the entire economy is arguably asymmetric under that premise too, and so like, I don't know, just like China wouldn't blow up their own economy by destroying the.
This is kind of just like a comment on top of all this, but I thought that the 2NR debating, I could tell when you hit the point of the 2NR